Hello, everybody. How is everyone? Hope everything's all right. And we are live. Let me just readjust like this. And it's nice to have you all here. Flaming Moe's. So that's why I got better so fast. I got some Flaming Moe's. Oh, man, love that one. It's nice to have everybody here. Nice to have everybody here. Let me just check it out. Everything looks okay. I think we can start a show. How about it? Been more than a week now. So it's time to be live once again with a show about some really invisible waves that travel oceans, go across the globe, and happy to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about this thing, the Anrangda HRD 747. A little bit. I've got the I got the Texan PL 990X. So if we go and look at it here, I got the Texan PL 990X. I've got the well, this is where it is. I've got the AirSpy HF Plus on the screen here. And of course, we're going to play around with radio a little bit and mostly talk radio tonight. I like the tuning more on the Saturday, but, we can tune anytime anyways. Always fun to do so, and depending what we do and how it goes. So I think we can start. A lot of people are always asking me, give a couple of minutes of delay because we got an ad at, when it starts. And so welcome aboard, everybody. After it's been Wednesday, something like 10 days since I've been live. So last week, of course, was I had every symptom that was like if I had COVID. And I felt crappy, and I had pretty much every symptoms that were going with COVID. I have the own tests here. I did 3 of them in 3 days. Negative. So I guess I got the flu or something like that. I don't go out much. I still am careful. I still, here we have to wear a mask still until the 14th of May. And I'm not long enough in stores or anything that I have to, do anything about it. Tell me if that's better. Actually, I see that the level was a little high on the bottom. So if that's better, let me know. So, anyways, I did the test, everything negative. A friend of mine that is a nurse told me just do it through with the throat instead of doing the swab of the nose. And I did it with the throat and was still negative. So COVID was not what I had. And like I said, I ain't going really a lot of places, and I'm not staying very long everywhere I go. So I think it's I think it's just some kind of flu, basically. So, anyways, I still did feel kind of crappy, and basically, it started to get much better, of course, on Thursday, when Friday. Then on Friday, last for those that were following me for a while, maybe some of you remember that my left shoulder, has some kind of problem. I got tendonitis, was diagnosed. It usually is in a range where I can deal with it, but last December I went to the emergency room because the pain was so sharp. I just couldn't deal with it anymore, and they gave me a cortisone shot, which definitely made it a lot better. But lately, in the past couple of weeks, it's been kind of creeping up on me again. And I don't know if what I'm doing exactly to kind of make this worse. So that's what the microphone has changed, by the way. I've changed the angle of the microphone, the way things are positioned, because I thought, oh, yeah, let's reposition stuff. Maybe I'm just, not sitting right, or I'm always in one side or whatever. And I know that I'm often on this side when I do stuff. So I started physiotherapy on Monday, where they diagnosed, which is much more of not necessarily tendonitis, more of the envelope of the shoulder that could be inflamed. So I got these 6 exercises to do, and just try to take it easy. It's actually a little better, even though it's like I can do this with this arm. I can like barely do this with this one, so it's like there's still some work to do before it gets back to normal. But at least I'm not in pain. So all of that together. Then Saturday, I got some friends that called me up. They have a shack up north, and they said, hey, we're going to our shack to see if everything's all right. They haven't been there. They usually don't go there for the winter because they don't have electric heating. So in the wintertime, they close it down, and they open it up, in spring for the summer season. So they called me up, said, hey, how about we're going to the shack up north, and maybe feel like it'd be a good idea to go. It's like, yeah, why not? You know what? It's going to change my mind. And I haven't been out of town in a long time. So, sure. So finally, it's taking a week off of live shows. And I'm glad to be back, anyways, today. And of course, I know that you guys are probably happy that I am back also today. So it's fun to be here to do the live show today. So we've got a fire wall running, and hope that everybody's all right and that everybody finds that today is a cool time for this. And it's really a lot of fun to be here. So my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And that means that we are here to entertain, have fun with radio, just, share our knowledge and so on. There's a beautiful chat room that's here also. And I think it is a great place to be, whether you're an experienced ham radio or shortwave listener doing this for 50 years, whether you're brand new, you have no idea what to do. This is the place to be, I think. This is a place where everybody's happy. And I think this is where everyone should be, basically. Um, I'll have a little rant at online reviews tonight, because the Hanrongda 747 made me realize how very, very superficial and very basic most online reviews of radios are after I did my review. And I've been checking out that radio. So, vodka cranberry, cheers, everybody. It is not a flaming Moe's, but anyways. Um, we have a beautiful chat room with wonderful people, and they are, of course, great. If you have questions, they're happy to answer any questions. It's just great to be here, and it's great to have everybody here. So you can join in if you have a Gmail. If you don't, well, you can still, of course, watch the chat room, and it's a lot of fun. There's the Facebook group if you want to join in. Official SWL channel on the Facebook group is also a great place to be. That is where the party continues after the party is over here. So this is the live stuff. Facebook group is kind of fun. People are like, well, why isn't there a chat, a 24-hour chat and stuff like that? Facebook is almost like that. It's not a chat, but people interact with each other as soon as somebody posts something or what they're listening to. It's close enough. And one of the most important thing about the Facebook group and all of that is, and this is what I want here, is to have a environment where it is safe to post, where moderators are doing a great job. Everybody, Bobby Burgess, everyone is doing a great job. The Facebook group, same thing. Everybody's doing a great job. You know what? Every time somebody asks me, I thought of doing this or doing that. You know what? Every time you guys have a decision on, I think this is going overboard and we should remove it or we should ban this guy or whatever, you guys are always okay. You know what? Don't even ask me if you did the right job or not, because you guys are already doing a fantastic job. So, you know what? Continue doing what you do. And this is what makes this place, and this is what makes the Facebook group so fantastic. You know what? We are able to remove the idiots, the trolls. We're in a safe environment where we are having fun with what we have. And you know what? This is cool because it makes us focus on the radio aspect of everything we want to do. And we don't have to deal with all the crap that's outside. I've been to so many Facebook groups, so many places that you're like, when you have to deal with trolls half of the time, it ain't fun, and it ain't what we want. We want to really be concentrated on our hobby and have fun with other people that are just there to have fun with their hobby also. So you know what? This is what I want, and then we learn and we have the best time possible listening to the radio. So let's go with the chat. I got a laptop here, which is a Chromebook. So I'm going to look at the chat here rather than looking up all the time, which looks weird on camera most of the time. Anyways, might look as weird when I'm looking down, though. But hey, nice to have all of you here, by the way. So let's see. Kamaxi 1976 from West Michigan. Nice to have you on board. Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana. James, WA1125 SWL from Prospect and Connecticut. Nice to have you here. VA3 GPX. Nice to have you on board from Ottawa, Ontario. The Rorax, nice to have you on board. It's got Radio Nacional Arizona rocking on his ATS-20, possibly on 11780 kilohertz. Cooleyham Radio, Andre, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Rob, nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona, 88 Fahrenheit. Youch. Francis Moore, nice to have you here. Dwayne, nice to have you on board, 75 and clear in Sundown, Tennessee. Bruce Corbett, nice to have you on board. Yep, today you can get a call sign from another website for the call signs. Absolutely. I'm going to get, or can anybody just post the link to the website for the call sign, the shortwave call sign for any listeners out there? It would be appreciated. Francis Moore tried the vodka and cranberry last time. Got the ratio wrong. Woke up on the floor. Yeah, you got to have a lot more cranberry than vodka. If you do the other way around, If I do the other way around, I don't even think I would go half through the glass before I'm completely drunk. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here from Pleasant Central, Georgia. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you here. WA0113SWL from Wentzville, Missouri. Barry, nice to have you here, my friend. Artist Ella Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Richard Wagner, nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you here. N5 KVO from South Texas. Currently 80 and getting ready for mid-90s starting this week. Here in Montreal, we're gonna get in the 70s and close to the 80s next week. We're supposed to have 23 to 25 Celsius for a few days. So this is gonna be really cool. We're gonna have. I'm gonna try to do some walk in the park videos for sure. So I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. DJW883 from Southeast Pennsylvania. James Farley from New Jersey. Mad Max 2069. Nice to have you here. Zen Farrows. Nice to have you here from Northern Westchester, New York. With a donut and a glass of milk. That sounds good. FRG7 and a pile of antennas. I like that. A pile of antennas. Toast and Loaf. Nice to have you here from Alabama. Richard Wagner, when you were sick, I said drink juice. Yeah, that's the thing, the flaming muzz. Chris A, nice to have you here. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you on board, Estrella. Daniel Mark LeBlanc purchased a new Texan AN200 for medium wave, and wow, I was surprised at how it'll work when plugging into outdoor long wire. My radios come alive better on outdoor than standalone. Already on the standalone is not bad. If you don't have too much noise, it's already surprising on a standalone. But of course, if you put it on the outdoor antenna, I mean, of course, man, the amount of signals that it brings to the radio is amazing. Pretty decent antenna. And what I like, I'm figuring out the guy that designed the antenna. I'm thinking of who decided it has to be red and the design of the curves. And I'm like, wow, that Chinese engineer just like was dreaming of a beautiful art design for an antenna. He was not just, I want to do a loop. I want to do a loop that is sexy. And it's crazy how beautiful as a standalone object it is actually. It's just crazy. And every time I see it, I'm like, wow, that guy that designed it really went all the way. It's like not only I want a loop, I want a beautiful, sexy loop. Mike Jam, nice to have you here. David, KJ4CMY, welcome to the Montreal Radio Museum Show with Paul the Cat and Jill. Hey, Greg, nice to have you on board. Jim F, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Skipwave DX65, nice to have you on board from Catskill Mountain in New York. Richard had the same thing, no COVID. A lot of people had that actually. I got a few friends and you know what? I was sick also, but wasn't positive for COVID. So it's like, okay. There are other things going around. We have Brazil. Rui Cavalcante. Nice to have you here. Jim's Radio Check. Nice to have you on board. VT Radio. Nice to have you here, Paul. AA1SU from Northern Vermont. May the Ford be with you. Absolutely. Shelly Sykes. Nice to have you here, Shelly from South Central Pennsylvania. Brad in Amarillo, Texas. Nice to have you here from N5LUL. Kevin, nice to have you on board. Aches and Pains comes with a ham license. Now you have something to whine about on the net. I'm going to go on 80 meters, talk about my shoulder and my prostate. Tom, nice to have you here from Monclova, Ohio. Monclova of Ohio. Nice to have you here. Toast and Loaf. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Gary 24 fan. Nice to have you on board. John Hummel Newell. Nice to have you here. VE5JHN. James, WA1125SWL from Prospect, Connecticut. Watch your videos on HRD 747. Almost pulled the trigger. Glad no COVID. What else do we have? What else do we have? Curtis. It's hot in Vacaville, California. 91. Wow. Richard Califano, nice to have you here from Loudonville, New York. Got a new puppy, and man, life is busy, but always find time to listen. Cool. Cool. That's true, Bobby. Trekkies will never find the reason behind May the Ford be with you. It's two different crowds, actually. I mean, some border from, Star Wars to Star Trek. But for a lot of people, it's one or the other. I'm not a Star Trek fan. I'm not a Star Wars fan, sorry, but I am a Star Trek fan. So it's like, I think we each have our side here. Some, of course, some that are big fans of everything space related, love all of it, but pretty crazy. So, yep. Yep. Eric Cottrell, bonjour, hi. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, I had a pretty nice day out on the sun. It was nice. It was fun. We had a pretty decent weekend with a lot of sun. So it felt good. Recharges the batteries, especially after being sick for several days. Mike WX50, nice to have you on board, my friend. Let me just get back where I was. There we go. From Northwest Arkansas, Chris, question: what's the best external antenna for the PL368 for shortwave? The best antenna for shortwave, the first thing I always say to everybody, start by just, putting up a wire outside and see what it does. Because if the noise level isn't too bad, a wire outdoor will do miracles, and it costs almost nothing. You might even have wire around your home that you can use. And then from there, if the noise is what is the major problem with a lot of us, that's the problem, then you might actually have to move up to something like an MLA30. An MLA30 is an inexpensive way of getting an antenna that works within our noise environment. The MLA30, and this is pretty much what I'm going to say here. The MLA30 is not a miracle antenna. It's not the best antenna that exists out there. What makes the MLA30 a good antenna is that when it's very, very noisy, because it's a magnetic loop, part of the noise it will not actually receive. So it will change the signal to noise ratio. You're going to be able to hear things that were washed out in the noise because part of that noise is not there. So for a noisy environment, that's where the MLE30 shines. I was watching, actually, I saw a video of a guy that claims that he knows a lot of stuff. And his channel is a AM radio call sign where he bashes the MLE30 as a really bad antenna. And in the video, he starts talking about, his antennas and his beverages, and it's like, you know what? You just don't understand what you're talking about right now. You don't understand. You're trying to take an MLA30 and put it next to your dipole in a very quiet environment and say, oh, well, look at how crappy this thing is. You're really, really not thinking about where this shines. I know where it shines. When it's super noisy, it shines. Of course, if I had zero noise here, I would not be using an MLE30. I'd be using 150, 200 feet of wire that I would hang somewhere. You know, it's it that would be better. When I had my sloper, because now I have the sloper end fed antenna with the ham rig, what I had noticed is that, my sloper, my 80 feet sloper, was getting as much level, if not more, than the MLA 30 in strength of signal. Where the MLA 30 shined is because the noise level was lower. Because honestly, the sloper was getting the same amount of signal, but it was getting more noise. It was washed out in the noise for a lot of the signals, where the MLA 30 gave me that edge where you know what? I hear the signal. I can understand the signal. There's less noise on it. So totally know what an MLA 30 is. I totally know how it performs. And when someone starts talking about it or bashing it, and that person has 300 feet of wire in the forest in the middle of nowhere, you're besides the point. You don't know, you don't understand what we're talking about. You don't understand why my MLA 30 um, is is so good, because you don't understand what we deal with. There are people out there that have no idea what we are dealing with our high noise level. When somebody comes back to me, I don't know over the years how many times that happened. When someone comes back to me and says, well, you should ground, you should do this, you should do that. I feel like going back and saying, do you think 40 years of listening, I haven't learned a lot of stuff? When I tell you there's noise here, there's nothing to do with it. There's nothing I can deal with. The MLA 30 is the only thing that brought back some of the listening. You don't even understand what noise is until you come here and you spend a month here. You know what? I would actually tell anyone that tells me, well, I think you have noise because your installation is no good. Yeah, you know what? I wish you live 1 month with exactly the same noise environment. You're going to see there's nothing you can do to remove it. It's not even from your home, it's from somewhere else, and you don't even know. It's all around. I'm tired of people thinking they know all, and they're going to tell me that a guy in the middle of the city, compared to that guy that is in the middle of the forest, hey, come here, spend a month here, okay? And I'm going to tell you, you're going to go nuts and you're going to go back to your forest because you just don't understand it. So it's the problem of a lot of hams and a lot of guys that are in their, fairy tale shortwave environment where I got 500 feet of wire and I'm getting this weak 3-watt station from Antarctica. Look how clear it is. You should hear it too. Yeah, right. Come on. Okay. Um, I think we have to put things straight into the same, level. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand. And I think only if you live in an environment that's so freaking crazy noisy, totally understand. Oh yeah, I know what you're going through. I know why. You're not listening. You're not hearing anything. I know you're not hearing anything. And that is what I find sad, is when somebody comes back, says, you know what, was in shortwave 40 years ago, 30 years ago, coming back now, bought a radio that you're talking about that apparently is so good. And what happens is that person comes back to you and says, I don't hear anything. And how do you start explaining how noisy it could be where they are? How, you know, I think in 2022, anybody that buys a first radio goes nuts on how it's fun and stays in the hobby, um, is almost a miracle. Because I can imagine, for one person like that, the amount of people that purchased a radio, turn it on, didn't see that the signal level indicator is always like full scale because it's noise all over. And and how do you expect people to know that, anyways? How do you how do you expect people to know that, well, oh, look at that, that is full scale, so I've got noise and static sounds the same for everyone. You turn on the radio, it's there's static. Yeah, it's supposed to have static, but what level of static? It's pretty crazy. And it's difficult to explain. It's difficult to, at some point I find it hard to try to, be positive to someone that says, I'm hearing nothing. And the only answer you've got is go to a park. I know it's not what you expect. You're not buying a radio and expecting that you're going to have to go somewhere outside of your home to listen to shortwave. I'll say it. I've said it I don't know how many times. Internet is not the enemy of shortwave. Too many people think that is, and it's not at all. It's the noise. The noise. The noise is the number one enemy by far. If you remove, if you look at everything that might want you to move away from shortwave, the noise is number one, and it's number one in a very far distance from anything else. If we would all be with a clap just right now, all of us live with zero noise for an hour, you guys would not even be watching me. You'd be going crazy over all that you're getting on your radio. And that is the big problem. And it's difficult to explain. And it's difficult to, how do you try to bring people up and cheer up with radio in an environment that is so noisy? And I mean, I try to find solutions. I have more knowledge, so I try to do things, but it's difficult. It's difficult to keep up the spirit to people. I turned on the radio, I heard British Stare on 17 frequencies, and that's all I hear. I don't hear nothing else. Yeah, well, I know why you put that radio away. I get it. I get it. What else do we have? Barry, so anyone notice some strange signal covering CHU 3330? Nope. I've listened to it many times this week. There was no strange signals over it at all. So I'm going to have to check it out. But I've had nothing. I'm just going to check it out here if I can hear it. 3330. Very clean and very beautiful CHU right now. Very clean CHU right now. So I got absolutely no problem there. Make room, and nice to have you here from Michigan, KE8 SDS. Bogues, will satanic shortwave or heavy metal shortwave appear again? Oh, who knows? Who knows? These are pirates, so who knows? What else? Canadian radio TV guy, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Chris A is in Portland, Oregon. Rifleman 336 and 8 UCN from Southwest Ohio. Pika Killer, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Dimitri, nice to have you on board. Sorry, guys. Shortwave for life. Yes, absolutely. Keegan DXer, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. We have Mad Reader DXer. Nice to have you on board. Doing radio. Keegan DXer doing radio with his Ethon Grand Edition Field BT and Ethon Grand Edition Satellite with SSB. What about vodka and lemon juice? Yeah, I'm not sure. I want that. Maybe a shot, but I'm not sure. Gary Pence, nice to have you here. KM5X in Dallas, Texas. And what else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, Greg. Cool that you've seen my videos on YouTube. KB7RQQ. Nice to have you here. 73. Mike WX50. Yes. What else do we have? Let's go down. Doing well, Bugs from Southwest Colorado. Then Mark LeBlanc. I've only been listening to this show for about 2 months and can't get over how educational this show is. Your reviews and video have greatly improved my understanding of the hobby. Well, that's why when you came, I remember the first time you came here, and you didn't look sure. You didn't look like, yeah, I'm not sure about this. But I think if there's a place to be, this is the place to be. I think of all the places. I was looking at reviews because you know what? I've seen so many people talk amazing about this thing that I thought, okay, I'm going to sit on my butt and I'm going to look at other people's reviews carefully and see if I missed out on something, if I'm too harsh on it or something. And I just, put it down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch other people's stuff. And I finally noticed, you know what? A lot of the videos that I seen on the Hang Wrong Dust HRD 747 are very superficial and are with people that haven't the knowledge to really necessarily test it properly. I've seen very little reviews that are really well done on it. And when I got it in my hand in the first hour, and the first hour was like, wow, okay. It's been only an hour. I can already sum up, crap is what I'm going to use as a word. So Robbie that sent it, and Robbie is not officially his name, but he likes that it's Robbie because he wants to stay in the background. When he sent me this radio, because I was surprised. He contacted me and said, "Look, I have an Hang Wrong to 747 for you. It's got your name on it. I'm happy to send it to you." So it's like, wow, cool, okay. Here is the thing on it is that the so he's got the radio and he sends me that radio and I start playing around with it and he starts seeing my videos and coming back to me and he's like, yeah, I wish I didn't buy it. And I bought it because, I've seen it on other videos and other channels that seem to kind of give it a good grade. And when I say that I want to be fair in my reviews, I want to be fair because I want to tell you one thing. I know that a lot of people are going to buy something based on what I'm saying. And I don't want you to buy something that's not worth purchasing. So I will be hard and I will say what I think and I'll give my opinion. I want to just say one thing because I got a couple of hate mail, which is usual for me anyways, of people saying, you don't know how to test a radio. That thing is fantastic. First of all, if you like it, why don't you just play with it? And who cares what someone else on YouTube thinks about it? You're happy. That's all that counts. I purchased radios over years that were not well rated, that for some reason I enjoyed using and was happy with. Yeah, it had shortcomings, it had weird things, but you know what? I was happy with it, even though the reviews weren't that great. So when somebody on YouTube comes up and says, this radio is crappy, instead of being offended, first of all, did you make the radio? I don't even know why people get offended about something that you purchased made by some company. It's just there's nonsense in here. I don't understand that. You're happy with it. Be happy with it. Who cares for the rest? Who cares what some other guy thinks about it? Be happy. That's all. That's all that counts. You like it, you like it. Cool. Be happy. Cheers. But people will buy it if I say, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world. And I'm not going to feel really good if I know people are going to buy that based on, oh, this is great. I don't want that. I don't want that. Every opinion of every radio I have is not based on anything. I got some people calling me a Texas fanboy. Well, a Texan fanboy, not Texas, Texan fanboy. And it's like, yeah, because, you know, I just take a Texan radio and it works and it does what I want and it does it decently. They're not perfect. None of the models of Texan are perfect, but it receives and it does work and it does what it's supposed to do. That's it. That's why, you know, but if tomorrow morning there would be a Texan PL 1000 and it'd be the crappiest thing ever, I would be happy. Well, not happy, but I would be the first one to say, don't buy the Texan PL 1000. It's a crappy radio. It's really, really horrible. I have no affiliation to anyone. And I have no reason to say one is better than the other. And I don't want, and I never wanted to have that, and I will never want to be that. And that's why when I see people like you buying a radio, you're all like, wow, I bought that on your review, and I am so happy. Thank you. That is what I want and makes me so happy. And that's the thing. So, he sent me it because he wasn't happy with it. He actually regretted buying the thing. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to send you it because you're going to have a review of it. And when I posted my review, he came back to me and said, you know what? There you go. You actually said exactly what, that radio has that is wrong and the way it is. That's all. So, you know what, Danielle? That's why I'm happy that you're still here after 2 months, because I think this is the place to be learning. This is the place where you will have a lot more, um, you know, good information about how going forward in the hobby, what's happening, help from everybody else. This is the place to be. John, correct ratio 50-50 with a splash of lime. Youch. Nope. If you do it in a small scale, maybe small scale. Danielle says you're a mentor and excellent teacher. Thank you very much, Danielle. Really nice. Bruce Corbett, nice to have you here from Southwest Missouri. Canadian Radio TV guy. Well, there's a lot of solar flares that have been happening, Canadian Radio TV guy. So when there's a solar flare, remember, guys, the sun has a lot of sunspots right now, sunspot groups, and there could be there could be some solar flares. Two things happen with solar flares, okay? Depending on how they're positioned. So the first one is wherever on the sun surface, visible sun surface, there's a solar flare, there will be minutes later a radio blackout. For example, there was an X flare. I think it was yesterday morning. There was an X flare. And I saw people on the shortwave group saying, wow, an hour ago, everything was cool. Now it's like there's nothing on the bands. And a solar flare, when it happens, most of the time, especially when it's very powerful, you're going to get some shortwave blackout. What happens is that after 8 minutes, protons and all sorts of particles hit the Earth's ionosphere, and it kind of washes it out. So the ionosphere becomes really, really bad. It can't reflect well. It absorbs more. So depending on how strong the flare is, from 15 minutes to maybe an hour, hour and a half after a solar flare, you're going to have a shortwave blackout. And then things come back to normal. Now, because the sun is peppered with a lot of sunspot groups, many of them capable of solar flares, there are more chances of multiple solar flares in one single day, multiple shortwave blackouts. That said, the shortwave blackouts affect only the daylight side of Earth because that's where the particles are hitting. If you're on the night side and listening to anything that within the darkness path, you won't feel the thing. You won't notice anything. You could notice something. For example, if you're listening to a signal in the daylight side of Earth and you're in the darkness path, then yeah, it could fade out because that daylight signal might not be propagating well. So if that's the thing about um, solar flares, and the higher solar activity will bring a lot of that going on. Remember also in the northern hemisphere, a lot of people don't realize, but the long summer days, that little time frame from about 10 a.m. to roughly 2 p.m. is the dead zone. It's that dead time where shortwave propagation isn't really good. Absorption is high. And what you'll hear is mostly strong more local stuff. It's not the best DX time to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be later in the afternoon, in the evening, and so on. Also, don't forget that, especially as the days get longer and longer. Now we're getting into, I mean, we're in May, and technically May, June, July, you can pretty much say that's summer propagation. We're in summer propagation now. It's very important for that. So summer propagation is here. That means enjoy that time of radio listening. Also means midday is not the best. DJ W883 listening to the old Grundig satellite 750 with MLA30. Wow, really picks up great signals. Great, cool. Jeffrey AD7LN, nice to have you here from Aden Island on the Columbia River. Nice to have you here. Dean KQ4ADJ, nice to have you here from Georgia. Pretty cool. Daniel Mark says, yes, the antenna is actually a piece of art. It actually looks great on my radio desk. Absolutely. It's crazy. They could have made a loop that's just like a black thing with a loop in it. And it's like, yeah, okay. Because notice, most antennas look crap. They look bad. Most antennas, you don't want to have them on your desk or something because it's like, yeah, black box with a black loop. And yeah, okay. It's radio. But that one is actually like, wow, I could almost put it in my TV set in the living room. It looks good. Chris Powell, nice to have you here from Minneapolis, AE0IY. TPH Teleho Fishing, nice to have you on board. K5ASL, love the show, pretty cool. And says Bernabadi Aronga 747. Daniel, where I get the on the air sign, it's actually a fan of mine, Brian Penny, that has given me this as a gift because he thought that on the live shows there was one thing missing, and it was an on the air sign. So that I religiously always think about turning it on and making sure that it's there because definitely it is needed when we do live shows. Dimitri, what's your opinion about the pocket radio you're testing with outdoor antenna? Oh man, it's no good. It is totally overloading. This thing, I put the MLA30 on it, and everywhere you tune, there's all sorts of spurious, weird signals everywhere. Now, there are attenuators in it, but I just want to say one thing. Almost every Texan radio, almost every radio, even the St. Jean ATS 909X2 that I'm not that fond of, but is a decent radio. Doesn't overload like this thing, but they're not the same price. If I put it at the same price, the Texan PL330, which might be a little more expensive, but not that much, doesn't even overload on the MLA30. Well, this does. I think it goes with the wide frequency range. It goes with the wide frequency range. I think It tries to do too much for the price that they sell it for. If this would have been just a shortwave, long wave, medium wave radio, I think they could have pulled off a amazing portable. But apart from that, forget it. It overloads like crazy. Okay, let's try to catch up here because I'm a little far behind. I will try to catch up here. Andy New, nice to have you on board. If I miss out on anybody, say hello again. Jim's Radio Check says Emily 30 is a good antenna. Artist Alley Crafter's Kitchen, Emily 30 added years to my enjoyment of this hobby. Man Radio DXer, we got a Wellbrook and Emily 30, and I use the Emily 30 more. So that's, that tells you. I remember a phrase that I heard about antennas, and one was from a ham saying, well, there's entry level antennas like the MLA 30, but you've got professional antennas like Wellbrooks. And I didn't say anything, but I felt like jumping in and saying, you have no idea that the MLA 30 kicks the butt of that Wellbrook for a lot less money. I'm not saying the Wellbrook doesn't perform better in some aspects of the hobby. Like, I've got essentially something that is as expensive and as good, apparently, as a Wellbrook, which is the W6LVP loop from a US guy. It's the first loop I ever owned. You know what? Man Reader DXer says he uses the MLA 30 more. My expensive W6LVP loop is in the backyard doing nothing, except when I want to use maybe a portable radio in the backyard. While the MLA 30 is constantly being used here in everything I do, because it's as good, if not better, at some frequency ranges. Where I am curious and where I think maybe there could be a better option, I think the W6LVP and the Wellbrook might be in the same league. Medium wave DXers. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised a Wellbrook or a W6LVP is better on medium wave or long wave. They are bigger loops. So, yes, it's possible they are better. I wouldn't be surprised. But I can't test it because I've got these. I've got mine is actually has these traps to remove medium wave and FM to prevent overload, which was what was actually which was actually a what was I saying? I'm reading the chat room, so it balances me off. So the ML, all I can say is Emily 30 is great. That's all. Let's try to catch up here. As in Pharaoh's, the guy had bad experiment in transmitting on the MLA 30. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. W7III Osio, nice to have you here. KG7POU. Doesn't know, random short wire here. I don't think I've ever had a wire longer than 50 feet. I want to build some loops though. Stephen Wood, nice to have you here from Cape Cod. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. KB7RQQ, I'm lucky to many good antennas, but I have a huge noise problem in 5 to 6 megahertz. The MLA 30 is a game changer. I'm able to null out most of all the noise and hear many signals I can't hear on the big antennas. Cool. Sometimes that's the recipe also. It's to have multiple antennas. The MLA 30 is not necessarily good everywhere on the spectrum, but maybe you have one antenna that does well on one aspect of the spectrum. The MLA 30 could be good on another part of the spectrum, and so on. So sometimes it's two or three antennas, and you switch between the one that propagates well or that has um, the good signal level um, on a certain frequency. JD Dakota, earlier today was listening 15770, heard a signal go completely flat for a couple of hours. Richard Wagner, when I walk around with the radio, I see all sorts of noise from Wi-Fi. I mean, it's almost unreadable in the residential area. Yeah, absolutely, Richard. It's in a city. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Francis Moore, is ladder better than a single wire? It's different. It's a different style of antenna. It's more difficult to make, though. I mean, for receiving, you don't have to go complex. For transmitting, that's where you might need to be a little more fancy and do it right. Rick, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. Galcia, nice to have you here. Patrick from Washington, nice to have you here. Toast and Love, I love the Kiwi system, but not all of them have good antennas or low noise. Oh, no, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Some of them are very bad. Some of them are deaf. Some of them have so much high noise level that you don't hear a thing. When you get one that is definitely really good, note down which one it is. Make sure that you keep that one in your. What I do, I'll make a folder in my computer, for example, where I will take the Kiwi SDRs, because they all have a unique URL, and I will make favorites of all the ones that I like. And what I'll do is I'll make a favorite, like for example, I'll say Asia, put the favorites in Asia in there, and then I'll make another one for like South America, all the good ones in South America and in that folder, North America, Europe, whatever, so that I have different folders of different continents, and those folders contain the URL of all the good ones, so I don't have to go around guessing. I can always go. I know that the ones I'm going to choose are always good where I want to listen to. What else do we have? Thomas Olson, nice to have you here. Have you tried the Tactena, which uses coiled antenna elements? Some amateurs have a good success with it. Looks interesting. I've not even looked at it. Need to check it out. You know what? I got an EdFed, which is like roughly 50 feet in length, roughly. And I can tell you one thing. I have made last week when I was feeling sick, just sat down in front of my ham gear, started going. Actually, what I did, I started going on all the pileups, and just trying to get all the European stations I was hearing on the pileups on 20 meters and 40 meters. And I mean, I got contacts with, first of all, I got the contact with that super mega station in Slovenia, S57DX. The guy heard me. We had a contact. But I got a contact. The funniest one was Bulgaria. So I got a contact with a Bulgarian station. And the guy is so happy to have a Canadian station. He says, wait. My friend is coming on. So he calls his friend to make sure that his friend gets on the ham radio to talk to me, to make a contact with Canada. It was just so funny. So I got two Bulgaria at the same time. I got one from Ireland. I got one from Greece. I got Spain, Portugal. I mean, I got tons of stations. It was a lot of fun. I was honored about one comment that I got last week. I ended up the night, wanted to do a last contact. And, I didn't want to take an hour to do a contact. It's like, if I could do a quick contact with somebody. And I'm going through 40 meters, and I hear this guy from New Jersey, and he's calling CQ. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to answer the CQ. So I answer the CQ. We have a contact. It lasted maybe 10 minutes. We chatted a little bit. The guy's 80 years old. I tell him that I've been licensed since December only. And he comes back. He says, I am amazed at how professional you are. I would never have guessed that you had your license last December. I thought you were a ham for decades because you're so professional and so good in the way that you handle the contact. And I was like, wow. And I told him, I said, well, I've been listening to shortwave for 40 years, a lot of ham radio listening in there. I guess that also helps. One of the things, we always say the best amateur operators are the ones that listen more than they talk. Well, I've been listening for 40 years. I did my share of listening. Now it's my turn to talk. We can put it like that, I guess. But I had a lot of fun. It kind of pushed the sickness away, and it was like, you know what? So, anyways, 50-foot end-fed wire within a balun, and 100 watts. And I mean, I'm blown away of all the countries I make. And pileups. I mean, pileups. Imagine the guy at the other end, all the stations calling back. And I'm able to go through, and I'm really happy with that. Right, JDA Dakota. Noise in every single thing electrical now. Even my washer gives a characteristic sound on my radio. Yep. You buy anything new today, and you're sure that you're gonna see the signature of that thing that you purchased on your radio somewhere. David KJ4CMY says, I heard about a guy who went to Alaska with his radio. He turned his radio on and thought it wasn't working. He just learned that there was no noise on the band. G Dimmers 2 says WA1 and WLV noise. You want noise? Turn off the washing machines, the dishwashers, as they generate wideband noise. Turn off the neighborhood. That's what I want. I want to have that big switch like, up, power outage tonight. I'll come back when I'm over with my radios. Power outage. I don't know why. Every night now and then we got these weird power outages, and we don't know where they come from. Guy's got an on-off switch for the whole neighborhood. I like that. Zen Pharaohs have a completely strange signal stumping all over CHU 3330. It's called a thermostat wiring in my house. Be interesting if anyone else can hear that. Wow. Okay. Christian Marcoux, salut. Nice to have you here from North Bay, Ontario. What else do we have? What's my vodka cherry ratio? Actually, my ratio of vodka and cranberry is about, so in this glass, you have exactly 2 ounces of vodka, and the rest is, if anyone wants to try it the way I do it, I don't put all the way just cranberry juice because it's a lot of calories. So I put 2 ounces of vodka. Then I put about 80% of the rest is going to be diet cola, not Coke, of course, like, 7-Up or Sprite or whatever, or something like that. So diet cola. And the rest I will actually fill up, which is probably about not even a quarter of the glass. I'll fill up with the cranberry juice. So that's the ratio here. Tastes good. Doesn't really stone you down, and pretty cool. Nice little drink. Not too many calories. Hey, Matt. MDK2 in Denver, Colorado. Nice to have you here. It's funny because I have the chat room, which is the actual up-to-date chat room in my face, but the actual I'm back order on this laptop. And I saw Matt's. It's like MDK2 is like, hey, you didn't say hi. Sorry. Hello, Matt. Nice to have you here. It's always fun to have you here, MDK2. Tristan, buzzer strong tonight. Must be the new PL330. I could never pick it up on the PL600. Wow, you got it on the 330. You should get it on the 600, honestly. So you got it in Newfoundland. I'm going to try it here just out of curiosity. If I can get my non-working amp to do something. Let me check it out here. Upper sideband. Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, buzzer is coming in. It's not very strong, but I have the buzzer on 4625 upper sideband right now. What else do we have? So 4625 upper sideband for the buzzer, TFB Taloa. What else do we have? Let me just try. Frank V, nice to have you here. Became a grandfather today. Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations in one way, because it's kind of a nice thing. At the other end of the spectrum, it's like makes you feel a little older. My story of family. So there's a big difference in age from my sister, my older sister, and me. So I was an uncle at age 5. Just to give you an idea, I was 5 years old and I was an uncle. One day, my niece, so much later, of course, my niece, that is at the time maybe 12 or 13, is calling her friends up. And, she's here. So she calls her friends up and she's like, well, we can hang out tonight, but my uncle is going to be with us. So her friends all think, when we say uncle, we kind of think of some kind of older dude for some reason in our minds. And when we get to meet, they're all like, wow, that's your uncle? I was expecting some 50-year-old guy, but at the time I was like, my she was like 12 and I was like 17. It's like, yeah, the uncle is pretty young. He's in the same mindset, actually. So congratulations, Frank, for the grandfather part of things. Stephen Wood, 4625 buzzer, good in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Doug Smith, nice to have you here. Just opened the new HRO catalog. Saw a full page on the new Ethon satellite portable. It looks like an improved, updated E1. Curious to know if you saw it and your thoughts. So I saw the ad that seems to say that it's almost here. It's an HD radio, so I guess it's HD North America, which was that's pretty much what I think, which it's okay. But I wish they would have said it's a DRM radio. It's going to be expensive. And I'm trying to think of who's going to buy something like that. I mean, I know some people out there have a lot of money to spend on radios. Now, HD is okay, but it's kind of fading away in North America. I mean, I have an HD radio. I'm happy to be dabbling with that. But seeing how AM stations and stations in general are just like going away, drifting away from it, I'm not sure. Now, it has the same feel and look as the E1. I wish I wish they would have gone, let's go for it. The first commercially available DRM receiver. They would have done that. You know what? I might have fetched the money it goes for just that feature. A portable or big portable, almost desktop, but a big radio that does DRM. I might have said, I'm going to buy it, even though it's really expensive. But the way it is now, it's a big radio and all. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not convinced. Will I have one? Not at the price that it's going to sell for. I can't. I can't see myself buying a radio that expensive. Remember, I say it all the time. Look at the Dexton PL330. We're talking right now how inexpensive it is. That Ethon E1, apart from having maybe better sound because it's big, it got a big speaker and some kind of fancy display and everything. You know what? It's not gonna get stuff you're not getting on the PL330. And you're talking about 7 to 8 to 9 times the price. So Daniel says about 3 radios under my review and says he's happy, but his wife's not so happy. Okay, you guys, you're going to have to tell the truth in the chat room here. How many of you have a wife that hates me because you bought radios because of me? If you ever come to Montreal, please don't bring your wife. NJDX, nice to have you on board, Ray. Any new now that the St. Jean ATS 909X2 is priced at £214 in the UK? Would this change your opinion about its value for money? £214 is pretty much the price that, Look, I'll put it this way. I'll put it this way. The St. Jean ATS 909X2 is a good radio. Okay. I have negative points because when you get, it's like the Olympics. Okay. Think of me looking at a radio as if it was the Olympics of radio. You got to give a score, but the score goes a lot with the price paid. And when you get into the category of a radio that gets into what I perceive as a expensive receiver for most people, you better give me what I want and do it well. So the St. Jean ATS 909X2, I know, in all fairness, anybody that buys it is going to be probably happy with it. And you're going to have fun and you're going to find it beautiful and it's going to get, the airband and shortwave and you're going to be happy. And that's all that counts, honestly. It's just because the drawbacks, the few things that they left behind, especially for St. Jean, which is known to have made radios over the years that were decent. You're like, what? That's all. But honestly, the thing about it, Andy, is if you're triggered by the price and saying, I want it, I want to press that buy now button, do it. You're going to get a good radio. And you're probably going to be very happy with it. It's just there are drawbacks that I don't like for the price. That's all. That's all. It should have been better thought of from the start. And the lack of multiple bandwidths on single sideband, I just don't understand. You put them in AM mode, but you don't put them in single sideband. Who thought of that? Why did you do it like that? What happened that, well, this is how we're going to do it now? It's like, what? I don't get it. But I'm sure that everybody that has one, I'm sure like there are people here right now that have one. I'm sure you guys that have one, you know what? Put it in the chat room. Anybody out there that has a St. Jean ATS 909X2, just say, I like it. If you have one, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to say, yeah, I like it. And that's fine. That's all. It's my complaints are not in the, it's a crappy radio. It's not. That's not a crappy radio. Not at all. It's not in the category of crappy radios. My complaints are more into the technical details of the things that should have been just right from the start. That's all. At least calibration. If it had calibration, because it's a little off frequency, things like that. That's all. But I'm pretty sure everybody that has one likes it. I wouldn't be surprised. Matt, there was an M-class solar flare today. Map of solarham.com showed absorption levels at up to 20 megahertz. And so, yep. And yesterday there was an X flare. So, sun is active. So don't worry. So I am just want to say, guys, I'm half an hour behind in the chat room because I see the real chat room there. And I see the behind chat room I am here. I'm going to try to catch up, okay? Joey D, nice to have you here. I was the one who posted Sunday on a Facebook group on Ethan getting all static outside on Sunday afternoon. Ever since then, it has been perfect. I hear everything and barely any noise. Okay, cool. So let me just try to catch up here. Try it regularly, Toast and Loaf. Eventually, you'll hear it. It's often not very strong, but if you just stand there and listen closely, you might hear it. Dave Howie, what antenna we're talking about? The ML830 loop. Richard Wagner, ML830 reminds me of an old vintage glass clock from the 60s. Darren Rogers, nice to have you here. KB2AHS from Long Island, New York. MTK2, Matt has weak, but hearing RWM Moscow time signal, 14996. Let's try it out here, 14996. See if we hear something here. Oops. $9,996 is coming in. Look at that, guys. I'm going to put the sound. You guys should be hearing it right now. Ouch. So 9996 RWM Moscow time signal. 9996 CW, or if you don't have CW, put it in 9997 lower sideband to avoid WWV, but it's coming in decent. 9996 RWM Moscow time signal right now. Michael, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Mitch, nice to have you here, Mitch, from Buckeye, Arizona. VD Radio wants to buy an MLA30 for a disabled friend. Where should I buy one? eBay? Simply go to wherever it is priced decently, around 40-ish US dollars, and just purchase it from there. They're all the same. All the same. So check it out. I've seen one the other day on Amazon for like $48. You know what? It's a little more expensive, a little bit, but you know what? It's Amazon, so it's easier to return if there's something. So check it out. Just don't go and pay $80 for it. 40-ish is around the price to pay for it. Yogi May, nice to have you here, Yogi. Zenflowers updated a copy of SDR Sharp, enjoying the new skin. Can't say I know why, but seems like the HF Plus Discovery is doing a little better. They might have changed something in the way that it processes the signals. So I'm going to check it out. Francis Moore, don't know if you can get it in Canada on BBC4 program, 7 Ages of Starlight. Excellent program to show how our star works and so much more. Fascinating watch broadcast 2 days ago. Huh, check it out. Yeah, I'm probably going to see it. Salut TVDXer, j'espère que tu vas bien. Toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. What else do we have? What's the question, John? Is the noise we are hearing on the frequency we are listening to? Aubrey Young, nice to have you here. WK0Y. I like that one. Andy New says power outages are due to hams working on the power companies. Not yet, Tristan, but that is the plan actually on the ham channel, the other channel that I have, to do a live show and doing some live contacts. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is something I'm thinking about. What else do we have? What else do we have? Dimitri, Bloody Mary, and a vodka also mashed together. Take care, Bruce Herbert. Yeah, absolutely, Barry. You can use Sprite, cranberry vodka, no problem. Oh yeah, you can you can use even it's a little harsher, but you can I've done it a few times when I didn't have any Diet Cola. Just use sparkling water. It still works. It's just that it's a little harsher because there's not that sugary. But if you want to use it with standard um cola, yeah, it's gonna work. It just has a lot of calories, so you don't drink 3 a day because you're gonna get fat. VA3JPX was an uncle before he was born. That's even better. Fastlow, nice to have you here from Montreal. How do you like the Conicom GP7 SSB? You had time to test it a little bit? HSOJ95, HD radio at potential. The issue is implementation on the user's end. Heck, a lot of FM radios and stations lack RDS. I like. We talk about the different formats of HD, and I understand that some formats are better than others, and the amount of information you get inside. I have to say that I I like the way HD radio works, meaning that you have an analog signal, you have an HD carrier in there, and then the radio can actually get what it wants from there to have better audio and get all sorts of data. Um, the reason I like it is because HD is an off and on thing. So if you're on an HD radio and the signal is on the fringe, what happens is that when the signal fades out, you tend to have a signal that will just drop off and then come back. On HD radio, what's cool is that when it drops, it just reverts to analog. And that I find kind of interesting. Now, on the broadcaster side, I know you don't want that because you have to continue having analog as well as as that HD stream. It's there's more stuff to pay. When you're on DAB plus, like in Europe, for example, you just have one digital stream and that's it. and I understand broadcasters wanting to move away from maybe HD radio because they have to maintain several things at the same time. Um, but it's not a bad thing, honestly. I kind of like it. Joe, nice to have you on board. Where can I pick up military air traffic control on SDR? You'll hear military on the many frequencies. You can hear the Air Force, U.S. Air Force, Global Command, 11175 8992, 4724, 15016, stuff like that. Fast load, obligatory, nice firewall. Yeah, it's an outdoor firewall too, with some lake and some mountains on this one. So, you know. Francis, my ratio the other night, 50 milliliters of top end vodka, 600 cranberry. No wonder I was watching your previous broadcast and woke up in cloud. You don't need that much, you know. Richard Wagner says, I'm the hypnotoad of radio. Wait, it's coming. It's coming. That hypnotizing moment with radios in your face. You're all going to wake up zombies in the middle of the night walking. Everybody's going, zombies. It's like, it's so weird. They don't want brains, they want radios. They can go up and say, radios. Yogi is single. You must have a lot of radios. Richard says, I bought 3 radios because of you, but all great. It's our secret. Ron C, nice to have you on board. PL330 for scanning. My Yaesu 757GX go-to receiver. RFM is awesome. Chris Powell, my wife could care less with what radios I buy. Because you probably buy her shoes or something. It's like, yeah, I'll get that radio and you can go to, whatever, do what you want with your friends. Joey D, who is the very annoying guy preaching on the Overcomer Ministry broadcast? I don't know. There's some kind of new guy. I know. There's some kind of new guy. The new Brother Stare is here. Yeah, there's apparently some new guy. I don't listen, so I don't know. You guys listen more than me because you guys like, who's that new guy? It's like, I don't know. Is immediately I hear that thing, it's like I just move on. So, Joey, that'll be the day when my wife tells me I can't buy a radio. I'm a grown man, not a child. Yeah. Tell that to your wife. You'll be sleeping in the basement tonight. Others Outcrafters says, I think many looking for the new Ethon are only going to flip them for crazy money on eBay. How can anyone be excited before it was even hit the market? Yeah. And what? Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a question. If you are hyped up or excited about the new Ethon receiver, why is it? Why are you hyped up about it? I mean, I can understand you're hyped up because of a new radio. Totally. I was hyped up. The Texan H51X, PL990X was kind of really cool to know that new shortwave radios are coming. And especially now in 2022, just knowing that new shortwave radios are coming, it's like, yeah, this is so cool. But is there something specific that is exciting to you in that new Ethon radio? And if what it is, what is it? And if you want to share it, I'm curious to know, because I see a lot of excitement. A lot of people are kind of, oh, look at that, it's coming, including some that already have, for the past 2 years, I've already pre-ordered. Now you guys are going to be happy because you pre-ordered at a price which is so low compared to the real price they're going to sell for. But What is the excitement? Is it just it's a new radio? Is it it's a radio that looks really hot and cool? And I'm just curious. If you want to share, I'm just curious because I know the hype of a new radio. I get it. I totally get the fact that we can be hyped up for a radio. I'm the first one to be hyped up if Texan tells me there's a Texan H505X that is even bigger, even better, even, I'll be like, oh, wow, I want one. For some reason, I am not hyped up on that one. Now, maybe the price is one of the reasons why, but I don't know. If you guys want to share, let me know. Um, Sunflowers, I forgot, found my old shortwave 55, and this is the first live show I could use it. So turn it on, man. Richard, my go-to radio, PL 880, much better than 50-year-old Alecrafters. Well, that's a different radio, that's for sure. 80K likes the Sanjian, and that's cool. I mean, it's a good radio. I'm not trying to bash it down when I talk about it. It's just more observations of what it should have for the price. That's all. Andy New, just looking for an opinion. I'm happy with my H501. Great radio. It's a great radio. I love mine. Keegan DXer lost power shortly after 3:30 p.m. A little later, put 4D batteries in the Ethon Grunding Field BT at FMDX stations from East Texas and North Louisiana. And power restored 6 p.m. Cool. Greg, only shortwave receivers do not overload putting a long wire. But a lot of radios, a lot of the receivers do not overload necessarily. Now, wait a minute. We'll talk about something. Every portable probably overloads. Okay, that is a known fact for a simple reason. Every portable receiver is made to be used primarily on the telescopic antenna. And that means it's already, the sensitivity is pushed up to the max to make sure that the telescopic gets as much as it can and that you can listen to it. So a portable receiver is not by design, even though they have external antenna jacks, is not by design meant to necessarily work that well on an external antenna. And weak signal environment, yes, it improves because the weak signals are even better on an external antenna. But if you are somewhere where there's strong stations, here, the biggest problem overload that I got is WWCR. WWCR out of Nashville. I don't know if it's the patterns for their antenna. It's the one that is blasting in Montreal all the time. All the time. So if I listen to something that is not far from a WWCR frequency, 49 meter band, that 5935 frequency, that's the one that's going to overload my 49 meter band. 19 meter band, a 15825, that's the one that's going to overload my 19 meter band. So I do see the radios that are more sensitive to overload thanks to that. And I'm kind of happy that that happens because I can actually test in real world which ones overload more than others. Because I do have that problem with WWCR. So at least it tells me which ones are more sensitive to overload than others with external antennas. Some are, my Texan H501X, yeah, overloads a little bit, but it's not, that there are some that are worse than that. So, there are an example. The hang wrong die HRD 747 is unusable on the MLA 30. I cannot use an external antenna. It doesn't have an external antenna jack on the top. It's unusable. All I get is spurious signals everywhere, even very far away from the international broadcasts. So so some radios cope better than others, but remember, a portable is a portable. And I remember getting an email once from somebody saying, "I'm sad that my $150 portable gets has overload on the the long wire antenna." That's the game. $150 is not that expensive for a radio. Remember that. It sounds expensive. It sounds expensive, but it's not expensive technically. You know what radio I'm going to put on if I have WWCR everywhere, and I will listen and make sure that I don't have overload? Of course, I will probably go to the ICOM ICR 8500 or the Kenwood R5000. They don't overload. They're made, rough and tough to deal with strong signals and cope with it. A portable is a portable, and because of its design as the way that it is, it's not a flaw. If your portable overloads, you don't have a bad radio. You just have a radio that's very sensitive and is just needs a little love, and just make sure you don't put that big of an antenna over it when it does overload. And if it doesn't overload, then you could put that big gun antenna on it and get more signals. It's like that, and it's not worse today than it was in the past. I mean, if you have an old 80s or 70s portable, they overload like crazy. I mean, these things overload like they always did. They did on the telescopic almost. It's the way they are, and it's the way they're designed. They're meant to be used on telescopic mostly. Remember that a portable radio is not a desktop or an IN receiver necessarily in design. Zenfraro's got pretty cool. Let me go down here. Fast low says 20 meter, not bad in Montreal. It should be. It should be actually all summer now for like 24 hours. I mean, European signals come over the North Pole. So this should work. It's a 24-hour thing, especially with the higher solar activity now. Francis Morangel, with your knowledge, could you design or help design the perfect all-band receiver? With my knowledge, what would happen is I would be able to direct the engineers that will make the radio into what should be the first things to take care of in a radio to make sure that it actually is a good radio. So, for example, if I would have, they would have asked me on the St. Jean, I would have said, bandwidths, you need to have multiple bandwidths on single sideband. It's important. As important, if not more, than on AM mode. There are a few things that I would have, frequency calibration, put that in. If your radio's off, put a way like the Texan does. Give us a way that we can manually calibrate to have perfect frequency. Things like that. I would have the pointers where they would actually could give me like a sample, and I would tell them this needs to be like this and that needs to be like that, and they could modify whatever the radio is doing to have that feature. Now, that said, remember that for most companies, including St. Jean, these are consumer radios. They're not expecting to have a geek guy, a really big geek radio guy necessarily using it. They're kind of focusing on general market where, the average person that buys a St. Jean ATS 909X2, I don't even think they'll notice that the radio's frequency is off a little bit. I don't think they'll really care that there's multiple bandwidths or not. It's where you get into the guy that knows his stuff and expects that radio to have it, that it gets into a different territory of this is how it should have been. You know, Jesse Erickson, nice to have you on board. KE0UGP, listening to 9996 CW Russia. Thanks for the heads up. Cool. Darren Pierce, nice to have you here from Melbourne, Australia. Hope you're having a great Thursday. We have people from the future here. Zinfaro's got the Russian time signal and WWV on the FRG7. It can separate them, but it takes patience. Easy for modern our SDR based radios. Yeah. Tosanov would pay a little extra for a perfect radio. HSO J95 HD radio definitely isn't bad. I wish it had taken off more. Problem is, radios that support it just seem to be really rare. Neither of my cars support it, and never seen an HD radio before. You know, I got one. I got a Sangean HDR14 because I wanted to test it out and see if I can DX medium wave, which definitely works actually when you get an HD radio station on medium wave. You know what is the big problem with HD? And that is something that I'm surprised. I have one station, and a great example. I got a one station here on FM that I listen on Friday evenings because they have an 80s show. That station is actually an HD. So if you have an HD radio, you can actually hear them on HD. And on HD2, they have a country music station 24 hours. When you listen to that station on FM, analog, never do they mention anything about HD. You don't even know they exist on HD. And that is interesting because if I had a station that had HD, first thing I would say is like, go buy that HD radio to hear us in better sound quality on HD. And it's not. It's not. They don't talk about it. It's like it doesn't exist. That kind of baffles me a little bit. Oh, Greg, old shortwave radios do overload when you put in a long wire antenna. I can tell you that. I had a few of them in the past, and I can tell you that apart from the really expensive tabletops, old shortwave radios all overloaded with, especially back in the 80s and 70s. They definitely were prone to overloading on long wire antennas. It was crazy back then. It was crazy because everything was so strong. Overload was the number one thing and number one problem. An example is that the Radio Shack or Realistic DX302 that I owned for about 7 years before I got my Kenwood R5000, that radio back in the 80s was very crappy in handling all the strong signals around it. They had put a pre-selector, and you know, somebody talking about pre-selectors here, putting a pre-selector. A pre-selector, and I'll be very fair, you add a pre-selector when the radio circuit is too crappy to handle everything around it. Because you try to narrow down the frequency range with a cheap external circuit because the main radio circuit cannot handle it. And the Realistic DX302 used that as a way of coping with, overload. Let's put a basic radio design that is sensitive, but let's put a pre-selector so that we can narrow the frequency range at every time you want to, tune in. And even that was not working right. I remember I couldn't hear some of the weaker stations on the 49 meter band when there were a lot of really strong stations around it. It was impossible. It was impossible because the radio was just not capable of handling it well. So the realistic DX302 might look, because I've seen somebody review it as an old radio and saying, wow, this must have been a great, amazing receiver in the 80s. No, I owned it for 7 years. It's okay and nothing more. And no, it is crappy in a lot of ways. That radio cannot handle strong signals. It overloads crazy. It desensitizes crazy when you're next to a strong station. The realistic DX302 was a rather bad radio, honestly, but it was still better than my DX100, which was really crappy. So, I handled that. But, when I got my Kenwood 5000, I understood what a real good radio was all about. But we're talking back then. Back then, good technology cost a lot of money. Today, it's another thing. We got some radios that are at very, very interesting prices and that are crazy amazing. HSO, curious. I broke the 3.5 millimeter jack off a shortwave antenna wire last night. Can I take the wire and attach it to a longer wire with a jack? A longer wire might be cool if it would work right. You could clip it to the telescopic and it's still going to work right. You don't need to have the necessarily to have the 3.5 millimeter. Honestly, the Elon Musk of shortwave. I'm buying shortwave for $50 billion. What? How can you buy shortwave? Ron, I watched a lot of your old videos. You don't age. No, I'm one of those guys that, at 90, I'm still going to look like this. Some kind of weird. I age. I see myself age. What else do we have? Yeah, some people have set Sir Maximus Hardwood. Some people have set shortwave radios in the car. Just don't go tuning around while you're driving. But yeah. Gabriel, nice to have you here from Uruguay. HSO, yeah, radio event is like that here with regards to overload. If there's a station within 30 kilohertz of radio event, it's not going to come in well. Does the PL330 overload easily? It's not that bad. It will overload on external antenna like most portables, but it isn't that bad. Honestly, it can handle a decent antenna. But don't be surprised if it does overload. It might, and it doesn't matter. Don't unless they're really bad in overloading. Don't base your purchase on is that radio overload more than that radio. They all overload, some less than others, but pretty much all of the radios that I've tested, including the 330, it's within a range of acceptable, of acceptable level. Mostly think about the fact that it might overload within a specific range at a specific time because of stations. But the majority of the time where you're listening in, it will never overload because there's no strong stations to do it. Dimitri, we can also use the wire antenna that comes with the radio, like the Yardboy 400. Yep, absolutely. Cool AM Radio says receive on the receivers could be bad because the receivers the person done the adjustment at the factory had a bad day. What do we call that? A Friday afternoon radio? They used to call them what? Monday morning cars and Friday afternoon cars. Those were the ones that had problems. Jesse, just my 2 cents. The new Ethon radio is very high price, and I see your hesitation to buy. After all, for a couple of $100 more, you can buy a good two-way rig like the ICOM IC7300. Yeah, for sure. It gets to a price point where you're like, you got to think about it for sure. Zen Farrows has Radio Brazil Central on 11815. Keegan DXer got the HDR 14 in November 2020 after of watching my videos. Good radio. So pretty cool. I like it. I listen to my the WVPS station out of Vermont and get the HD stream of BBC at the same time. 1160 China, Yemen, there's definitely jamming. The jamming you hear on 11860 is Cuba that probably didn't shut down their Radio Marti jammer. Sorry. Let me check it out here. Yeah, that's Cuban jamming. I hear it here. So 11860 during the daytime is Radio Marti, and of course Cuba jams it. So what I'm hearing here sounds definitely like the Cuban jamming. They just didn't turn off, basically. No, the ATS 909X2 is not deaf on SSB at all, Greg. Mine receives very well. The ATS 909X2 is really good on SSB. It is not deaf. Some people have said that it is a little low audio, but I think that may be some quality issues more than anything else. Because I'm gonna make videos, Greg, this week of the Sanji, and you're gonna see that it's far from being deaf on SSB. It actually works very well on single sideband. Mine does work very well. I think that's where maybe there could be quality control issues on that Sanji and also. Tom Dennison, nice to have you here. Just got my XH Data D808, loving it. Cool. Great radio. Keegan DXer still has his Radio Shack DX402 from the early 2000s. Zen Frowns has 11880 KBS on the shortwave 55 and the 4G7. Cool. Simply buy up the bandwidths and say you own them. Can I do that? Can I do like the big telecom companies? So guys, here's 10 billion from 3 to 30 megahertz. I own it and I do what I want with it. First thing I'm gonna do is send a ceased and remove Brother Stare from all the broadcasts. I own the spectrum. I don't want to have that trash on my waves. They are my waves now. Second rule, anybody who wants to do a station, no license, just get on the air. Let's go. Let's have a free-for-all in the shortwave bands. Make shortwave great again is my new motto. Just Erickson continued that being said, I consider shortwave like a manual transmission. They both take more knowledge to learn the ropes, and not a lot of the public uses either, but in my opinion, are both more enjoyable. Jesse, the problem with today's shortwave compared to, say, 1975 shortwave is that back then, zero knowledge. If you had a decent radio, you turn it on and you tune around, there's stuff to listen to. Low noise, stations everywhere. So even if you didn't have any knowledge, you were like, oh, cool, I'm hearing this and that and that and that and that. And you didn't know what you were doing. And that's basically what happened to me. with the DX100 back in 1982. No knowledge. Turn on, tune. Hey, there's this, there's that, there's Israel, there's Bulgaria, there's, look at that. There's tons of things. No knowledge, I hear stuff. Today, noise level, so the noise around you. If you turn it on in your living room and it's full of noise, you'll hear nothing. It requires more knowledge today to tune shortwave and hear something than it did back in 1980. And because of that, so that is definitely a different, we're in a different world. And you know what, Zenfaros also, now remember one thing, most portables today have a DX local switch that, you know, not all of them, but most of them, which means you can just switch it off to normal, which attenuates some of the signals. So remember that also. James Farley, R5000, still my best radio, no overload. Definitely a great radio, that's for sure. Do like iHeart, buy all your competition and shut them off. No, ICOMs probably didn't overload much. Most Kenwoods probably didn't overload much, but they were expensive beasts in the day. Can tell you that. Jesse says, oops. Yep. Let me just find where I was. Finally, most important, if you do not buy new makers, stop making. Keep buying new rigs. One thing for sure, if new radios are there all the time, I can tell you that that's because some people are buying them. That's for sure. Solitary radio listener, nice to have you here from Southern Illinois, WA9211SWL. John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. St. Pharaohs has Radio Exterior España 17855. Yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to do. If I buy the shortwave spectrum, it's like, no wrong duff for you. 1 year. 1 year. No wrong duff for you. Justin has World of Radio 9395. Cool. Cool AM Radio. Free radio is a way of life, but never taken for granted. You know, I want to thank everyone that does these pirates and stuff. You guys are great. It's part of what makes our hobby fun. Listening to pirates. I'm always hyped up when I see that they're pirates to be listened to and that I can get on my radio. Hearing your styles. You know, it's mostly music today, but still, everyone still has a style of music, a style of presentation, a style of doing his own stuff. And I love pirate radio. Joseph, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay Area. James Farley, can you do a video with external hi-fi speakers on various radios? You know what? I should take out I got Logitech, good Logitech PC speakers brand new in a box that I have never used. And I know they have good sound. Maybe I could do a series of using computer speakers or stuff like that with good quality on portable radios and see how they, help with different radios. I'm gonna check that out, James. I'm gonna check that out. Solitary radio listener. I wonder how many started or was listening to shortwave and just left and got out of it because of noise. You know, um, one of the things about and I'm gonna put it a little broader than that. Not just shortwave listening, ham radio. Okay, we we look at how many stations. I try to remember back in the 80s when I was listening in, and I had the impression there was more ham radio operators around. Um, there are multiple things that we talk about here, and we people have caught my attention with also is go back in 1975. You don't have that many hobbies. You're either knitting socks or collecting stamps or doing electronic circuits or listening to the radio, shortwave radio, and stuff like that. But I mean, there's hobbies, bird watching, whatever. There's hobbies, definitely. But let's go forward 75 to today, and you add all these new things and the internet and the technology all around it that you can be, having fun with, and smart speakers, and the amount of distraction from the basic hobbies is now multiplied. Where we would have 100 hobbies in 1970, we have 1,000 hobbies or 10,000 hobbies today. There's a distraction everywhere for everything. It already kind of sips away maybe people that were trying to be on this or that part of the hobby. Um, that's one thing. The other thing is there was certainly a peak of radio listeners at a certain time. There must have been a peak in the 70s or 60s or even in the 80s. And you know what? Multiple aspects. If we just focus on shortwave, and I'll put it a little bigger on ham radio also. I think there was a lot more ham operators back in the day. There's definitely a lot more shortwave listeners. I think one of the first things that made shortwave listeners fade away from the hobby is the number of stations slowly going down. And in the late 80s and then in the 90s and early 2000s, stations shutting down. Put yourself in a hobbyist of shortwave radio and say that you were a fan of Radio Netherlands. That was your kick. That was your thing. You love shortwave, but you love Radio Netherlands. You had fun, but Radio Netherlands goes away suddenly. What happens? You just maybe you're just like, I lost my favorite station. There's other stuff out there, but I did lose my favorite station. Maybe the fun is like, getting away a little bit. The other thing is, yes, noise creeped up on us in a very subtle way. I'm the one that's in the there is no noise and there's noise in your face. But it didn't happen necessarily like that for everybody. It was, it was an S2 noise level back in whatever 1990. And you were in 1995 and you had an S4. In 1997, it was an S6. You're in 2005, you're at S9. One thing that it does is that the higher the noise, the less you hear, the less it's enjoyable. I've had a comment a couple of years ago. We were talking about noise, and And I mentioned that I'm pretty sure a lot of hams left the hobby because of noise. Somebody said, well, I've never heard somebody say it like that. I left ham radio because there's too much noise. Well, it's not something you're going to talk about. You're not going to necessarily say, I left the hobby because there's too much noise. You're going to say, I left the hobby because I didn't hear anything anymore. There's so little out there anymore. So, noise is partly responsible for it, definitely. Definitely. Not all of it, but definitely some of it. And when you look at the hobby, the radio hobby in general, I'm looking at the scanner craze of the late 80s, early 90s. And listening to, thinking about how 2 meter band, the 2 meter band, um, the 2 meter band was full of people, ham radio operators. There's tons of things happening. Today, the 2 meter band resumes itself as, I call it kind of a joke. It resumes itself as, ham nets and a handful of people that are very, it's okay, but you listen and you notice that how very little knowledge they have. And you're like, yeah, what are you doing on the ham radio? It's more of a friend talking to a friend than anything else and anything technical, and there's a lot less today. I mean, the ham bands here used to be the VHF, UHF ham bands used to be pretty occupied in the early 90s. Today, most of the time you're going to scan through them and nothing's happening if there's not a net somewhere, So you're like, yeah, okay. So noise, there's so much things that are happening at the same time. And like I said, new worlds opened up. The internet is here, computers, going online, chatting, your smartphone. Tons of things you can do with that. Where there may be a lot of stuff happening at the same time, honestly, you know. But noise probably did hurt the hobby in some way, that's for sure. Take care, Thomas. See you on Saturday. Meta Lunar, I'm amazed at how many models Texan has. There must be still be decent demand around the world for radios. Definitely. They wouldn't be making them if there was not. Joseph, love the Pirates because there's so much creativity involved. Yep. Indeed. Indeed. Dimitri, imagine, Jill, you just bought a new radio, started to tune it all in the radio, and the first station you hear, they gone and shine. Stasia stations. Barry, SSTV on 6920. Ron, I forgot model rocketry. Yes, definitely was a thing. Don's Locks, nice to have you here, my friend. VK1DON from Down Under. Nice to have you on board. Meg Rumin, remember the slot car racing? Yep. Pirate on 6925 WABC. Man. Take care, VT Radio. Always nice to have you here, Paul. How much does the ICOM shortwave receiver cost? Well, my 8500 I purchased for 1,750 Canadian dollars back in 2008-ish. Metalunar says I was put off by the noise, to be honest. I was given a cheap shortwave radio 10 years ago and couldn't hear anything but noise and wrote off shortwave for a while before learning more about it. That's what we're saying. I think today you need knowledge. You need knowledge to listen, and that who's going to take the time to learn about how I can do shortwave? I don't think there's that many people. Definitely, it's not like in the 80s where you just turn on the radio and listen to tons of signals. Francis Moore, good night. Take care, my friend. Man, Radio DXer, in my opinion, the scanner radio craze was because people wanted to listen to emergency services and phone calls. It was not about radio specifically. Oh, that's I'm sure that was the thing. Absolutely, you're right on that. For the first time, you could listen to the cops. I mean, think about it for 2 seconds. For the first time, you can go to a store, buy a radio that you're going to listen to what you always wanted to know. What's happening on the police channels, you know? And then you had this, the cordless phones and the cell phones. Oh man, come on. Are curious. People want to snoop on other people and see what, hear what they're doing and know more what they're doing in their lives, you know? I always remember the first comment I ever made of somebody asking me way back in the 90s. So, must be fun to listen to cell phones. And I said the first phrase that came back out was, people have the most boring lives I can imagine. It's so effing boring. You have no idea. Yeah, I got a bologna sandwich today. And so what do you do? Oh, yeah. Were you okay? So you stopped work at 3 p.m. Yeah, you took the bus. And I was like, what? How boring of a conversation you guys have. My fun was on the cell phone. My fun was on, late night, midnight, 1 a.m., weekends, the hookup lines. It's like, yeah, I'm Dave. I'm 6'8", and well, I like theater and going to long romantic walks in the beach, and it's like, come on, guy, yes, that's so boring what you just said there. It's like, hey, I'm Linda, and I also like romantic walks on the beach. Is like, really? Okay, that's life. Okay, that's okay. It's just things like that. But I agree with you totally, man. Radio DXer. People went into the scanner craze because they wanted to listen to the cops, to emergency services, to their neighbors on their cordless phones. I had a friend of mine that his dad was always mad because every time we would go, he was like, well, the neighbor's always talking bad about me. It's like, one day I'm going to go out, and it's like, no, you can't. Shut up. You cannot go there and say, so you decided that, it's like, no, you can't do that. Okay. Shut up. And I'm sure part of it was that also. It's like, if I hear my next door neighbor on the cordless phone, maybe he's talking against me or something. There's a lot of that was going on. Honestly, absolutely, the hype went with that. If today we would still be in that, I can hear the cops, I can hear my neighbors, I can hear. Maybe we'd still be in the craze of scanner radio because it's like, well, we can do all of that. It faded away with what? It faded away with the fact that all the you know technologies that made us listen to whatever changed. No more cell phone, no more cordless phone. Or if there was, it was getting complicated. People were very basic. They would listen, but they were basic in what their knowledge of using a radio. And then you have, oh, the cordless phones are moving 900 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. There's a lot of people are like, yeah, what? Well, what's that? I don't know what's that. Why am I not hearing my stuff here? Because a lot of people with scanner radios didn't have knowledge. They just like, oh, that's the frequencies for that, and that's it. So yeah, I agree with you on that, man. Radio DXer pretty much. Solitary radio listener, hook your 501X up to your guitar amp and turn it with distortion. Here is Radio Havana, Cuba, with distortion and reverb. That'd be kind of interesting. Ron, is there a ham fest coming up in Montreal? When's the next one? I think it's this fall. The I don't know if it's going to happen. If it does, it should actually. In the fall, there's the Longueuil Ham Fest usually, which is uh, which is just south of Montreal. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in Montreal, around the area of Montreal, anyways. Lock 2112, nice to have you here. Good night, Chris Paul. Nice to have you on board. John, 2 meter around Indy, 14652, very active, lots of knowledgeable long-time hams. That's cool. That's cool. Tamimis. Take care, Greg. See you Saturday. John Beckham, I believe that Arongda makes some of the Redicus portable radios. I will stay with Radio Hour and see what on, I believe. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know how intertwined and intermixed all of these brands are, actually. It's kind of weird. I still have a better hope for Reticus, which did have some decent stuff, even though not the best, than Rongda. I can tell you that. Denmark LeBon allows the internet has in some ways enhanced the hobby some. I wasn't having fun listening to shows like this 30 years ago. Well, that we talked about, Daniel, actually. Because there's a subset of people that think the internet is actually hurting our hobby when it's absolutely the other way around. On the contrary, the internet is helping us like never. Back in the 80s or 90s, having schedules of anything was impossible. You had to just sit down and it's like, I'm going to listen to that thing I'm going to listen to that opera for half an hour before I know what station it is and hope there's not a fade out while they're going to say, this is radio, now it's like you go online, it's like, oh, I got radio, whatever. There's this, how many times I told you guys, if I would have had in 1982 a guy from Canada talking about radio, telling us where and how to do stuff, I would have been one of the number one fans of that guy, because we didn't have that back then. We were all alone in our little hobby and outdated schedules. It's like, oh, I think this is maybe Radio Berlin. Oh no, they just said it's Radio Canada. Okay. I'm wrong. Of course, they probably didn't have the same programming, but anyways, the internet is a amazing resource for our hobby. It's making it better, actually. That's for sure. And Daniel, you just put the point on it. It is making our hobby better. Dave Conte, I'm old enough to remember when you could pick up cell phone signals at every end of the UHF channels on your TV set. If you had your TV, those that had the TV that had the UHF go to a channel 83. You remember, guys? Today's ends at 69. Well, today's digital, but it ended at 69 at some point. Why? Because they took the frequency range from channel 70 to 83. That's where the cell phones were. And if you had an old TV that went to 83, you could actually listen to cell conversations on there. I had an old black and white TV that could do that, actually. Yeah, people are snoopy. People want to know what's happening in their neighbor's life, and much more than we think, actually. Solitary radio listener, pretty lucky here. A lot of the police, fire, and emergency services still in the clear. Cool. Be happy, man. It's when you don't have it anymore that you miss it. When I turn on my radio, it's like, yeah, there was a time when I could listen to the Montreal police. I can't anymore. Like 2112, I firmly believe the major problem with amateur radio in America is blatant interference from the ARRL. You seem to prefer you do it their way or no way at all. I don't know. It's difficult. What are people asking of ham radio, actually? What? I became a ham, honestly, I'll be very, very, very honest. If it wasn't from here, what I do, and you people pushing me towards it, I don't think I'd be a ham today. I am. I'm happy to be a ham. I'm happy to be licensed. I'm having fun. But what is driving people towards the hobby also? You know what? You can blame the ARRL. You can blame tons of external things why ham radio is the way it is. The I'll be quite direct here. Stop making the hobby boring. You'll have people. The ARRL has nothing to do why the hobby is boring. The hams have to do with that. The hams are the ones to blame for part of the reason why the hobby is dying. Because when I listen to hams on 2 meters, apart from wanting to hang myself, I don't know what else I got to say. The most boring thing in the world. CB radio is more exciting than what I'm hearing on the ham bands. Okay? I am tired of it's always somebody else's fault. No. The hams are the ones driving amateur radio. Do something and stop being boring. And stop thinking the ARL is bad or whoever's driving this is bad and that is killing this. It's always somebody else's fault, but never the ham operators that can't even get off their butt take a microphone and talk. It's like shortwave. The reason I'm here is very simple. I'm taking a control. I'm off my butt. I'm talking about radio. I want you guys to listen to shortwave. I want you guys to do something. I'm doing something for the hobby. Why don't hams take time to do something like that instead of being boring asses that do nothing and are boring and you listen to the ham bands and you just want to turn off the radio? That's the problem. That's where it is. So stop blaming anybody else. Blame your ham fucking butt. I'm sorry for the F word. And get out of there and do something. That's all. Okay? Hobby's boring. You're responsible for it. Okay? Is the hobby boring with me? It's not. We're doing something. We're moving ahead. There might be noise. There might be tons of things. But we're doing something to push everybody to get outside and get their radio running. That's where everyone has to do something. Okay? That's the way it is. Here's my ranting. What else we have? Did I just rant here? Zen Farrow's brother Stair getting accompanied by some RTTY. Oh, that's nice. It's like, never been happier to hear radio teletype signals. Don's Locks. Mobile phone has taken over everybody's life. My dad is 88 and is addicted to his mobile phone. Oh, yeah, for sure. Distractions are everywhere now today. Dimitri, Jean, in 1980, CB radio signals, it's fun to listen to, especially in UK countries. A lot of people had using the CB communicator on the air. Yep, it was a lot of fun. Take care, Danielle, Mark. Always nice to have you here. I'm glad that you're happy that you've found a new community. ManRadio DXer, not only has the internet helped me with schedules, but also discovering stuff about DXing I never knew as a child. Absolutely. As a kid. Yep. James Farley, Meyer and my ex-wife cheating on me on 900 megahertz phone. That's kind of, yeah. Solitary radio listener. I'm getting a lot of lightning crashes from the last few days. 41 meter down. I can hear some from 3 or 4 states away. Yeah, that is called summer. That is what is called summer. What else do we have? The name is Canada using P25 or is police traffic encrypted? So here in Montreal, they are on P25, but they are encrypted. We are encrypted on P25, so can't hear it. And but there's still some analog stuff. Like the provincial police here is still doing some analog, but they're moving towards their new encrypted system slowly. St. Pharaoh's as SVO Greece 8424CW. Cool. Maker You Mine says, Amen. No more sad hams. Yeah, I know. Come on, guys. Okay. Come on, guys. It's time to just be uh be happy and do anything um to help the hobby. We are all responsible for why the hobby is dying or not. All of us. We all can do a little something. I went further. I'm doing this live. We all can do something. Remember that, guys. Okay? Your friend decided to get a shortwave radio, spend time with him. Share your knowledge. Make it less painful for I don't know what I'm doing by, well, at this time it's not the best, or at this time, you know what? Look, I'm going to have you listen to Radio Romania, or, it's going to spark something. Don't leave anybody new in the hobby alone with the radio. If you can help. If you can do something about it. Change something about it. You know what? Carol, W7WXV, nice to have you on board. No, well, rant from time to time. It feels good to rant. Like 2112, never boring, always something on to pique an interest. Absolutely. RJ Dakota, thank you for Rhonda for the review. No, Rhonda 747 for me. Nope. Maker You Mine, great speech. Yep. You know what? If this was a award for the number one shortwave and ham radio geek wants to, it's like at some kind of award, that would be me. Keegan DX, that was epic. I can just see the video somewhere going on. Man Radio DXer, a Candy Gloss says that was an interesting time to come in. Just perfect timing. It's like, wow, okay, what was that? You're getting in thinking of, well, let's tune the bands or something, and the guy is ranting like crazy. But I'm in good mood. It's just, you know what? Stop blaming everybody else. Honestly, okay, I'm grateful here in Canada. I think it's a great that a new ham free license for life. That's cool. It is great. But you know what? I don't think price is keeping people away from ham radio. If you would have told me, uh, yeah, I got my license, so it's going to cost you $100 for the license for the next 5 years, I would have paid $100 for my license for the next 5 years. I would not have said anything. That's the rule. So when we talk about how it costs money to do things, or no, you like ham radio, you're going to just pay it and do it. Come on. Especially, I'll rant a little more here. I get people saying, wow, that new rule with $35 or whatever license in the US is like, you just bought a freaking $1,000 radio and you're renting at $35 to keep your license. Please. Okay. Come on. If a radio was $50, yeah, okay, I understand. But you got that $1,000 radio in your freaking face, and you're gonna tell me, oh, you're gonna pay $35 for my license. Please. Take care, Richard. 73. By the way, Richard, don't take it personal. I know that people just block what you said because it was a little, off chart. But don't worry, Richard. You're welcome here, and it wasn't. It was understandable in my personal rant and the way I did it also. So don't worry, guy. Okay, you're welcome, Richard. They just blocked the. It's like when they do these like little blurs at the swear words on TV. This was a blur on. I'm pretty sure if I there was a beep button for you moderators, I know that a couple of you moderators would have beeped part of my little, speech. So nice to have you here, Richard. Always. Okay. Don't worry about it. What else do we have? Lou Braga, nice to have you here from New York City, listening to TFRX Toronto. Impressive what 1 kilowatt can do. Absolutely. Emily 30 SDR play. Pretty cool. Carol W7WXV, Mars FEMA Amateur Interop Service on 5330.5. Cool. Cool. Matt, it's one reason why I don't generally do phone when I'm on the ham bands. Dmitry, agree with you, Jill. One night I was listening to the hams talking about politics. Yep. You don't talk about politics. You don't do that. Talk about ham radio stuff or basic everyday life if you don't have a life or whatever. But whatever. John Beckham, I haven't been on shortwave radio bands for a few days. How is the sunspot level as of late? That's pretty high. Lots of stuff happening. I can tell you that. Hunter's Autocrafter's Kitchen. Beautiful rant. I like that. So like I said, Richard Califano, don't worry. It's think about the blog that was happening as a beep when we say a bad word, not as a you shouldn't be here. How are you cats doing this evening? Paul was sleeping in the bedroom. Mignon was in the backyard, and there's something I don't like because one of her on the back legs on the right is missing a big spot, like a really big spot of hair, and there's kind of a red dot in the middle. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do? And of course, she's impossible to bring to the vet. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to continue observing the progression and see what happens. She seems well and everything. I mean, she's happy to come over and everything. I'm also thinking about Paul the cat. If it's something that Paul can catch, I don't want them too close together to, in case. So, anyways, I'm going to be checking that out. No problem, Richard. Stay safe. Take care. Keegan the Extra, I would only bleep according to the FCC's guidelines. Like 2112, it's not ranting. Ranting is senseless. You make sense. Jesse, I love the passion show. I've been licensed in 2019 and am president. I was voted in, and we have had more people join in 2 years than in the last 10. Cool. That is cool. That is cool. Solitary radio listener, I was wondering if SDR Play is working on any new models. I couldn't find any info. No, right now it seems that we're pretty much on the same models, and there doesn't seem to be anything new coming soon, basically. So I don't know. For now, it could be in part because of the chip shortage. Maybe they're having a hard time and they're not sure what they want to do. So no, 7200 is one of those frequencies to avoid, honestly. Like 2112, 8311 just got what I think is Aero. 8300 range is generally marine, isn't it? Yeah, 8311 should not be aeronautical. It could be something else. It could be some other. It's a marine band. 8311 is in the marine band. Cell call on 8311. Let me just check here quickly. megahertz. That is interesting. Cell call. Because it's the upper part of the band. You sure it's cell call? It could be something else that sounded similar. HF Iowa bands frequencies. If I like here, because A311 I don't think is, but let's check it out here. Here we go. HF, yes. Trying to find a chart here. A little surprise. Okay, here we go. Nope. That is not. That's interesting. Huh. That's interesting. Trying to find anything that could be. That's a marine band usually. DFP Telehoff fishing. Too much politics on the handband and amplifiers kind of ran me off. I do listen sometimes, but I love shortwave listening more at this point. You know, there's different ways of there's different types of people and what we want. You know what? I have been doing some contacts with some of the pilots, kind of trying to position myself where am I positioning myself as a ham operator. Definitely I like the long distance, so if you're in Europe, if you're in far away, I want to contact you. The pilots, I use the online what is the online DX clusters to see who's on and go check if I can hear them and then try to contact them. So definitely I like the long distance quick contact. I like the voice contact, but I will do more because I'd like to have conversations. I'd like to have conversations with different digital modes and stuff. And I'll try everything. I mean, some of you guys love FT8, which is cool. Um, some people like ham radio. Some people, there are some hams here that haven't talked in years. They're happy listening, and that's it. It's like when people tell me, why did you take so long to be a ham operator? Maybe to a ham operator that is excited about ham, it's something that's difficult to understand. But at the same time, I am extremely pleased with just listening. I'm not drawn to my ham radio gear like a magnet. I'm drawn to I'm listening in. I listen. But if I do go to my ham radio setup, I will tend to try to see where I can be heard and how far I can be heard. But I think it depends on everybody. Some people don't like to, we talk about it and it's something that's very, very, um, that's much more of a problem than we think. A lot of people are shy, and a lot of people are shy taking the microphone and saying hello. A lot of people are not comfortable doing that. Talking to a stranger you don't know on the other end. A lot of people are not there, and so you know, FT8, for example, could be a way for a lot of people to do ham radio for that. FT8 is, you're not talking. It's a quick exchange of contacts. It's not, terrible. You don't have to talk to the guy. You don't have to risk, it's like oh God, we're going to have a conversation now. I don't want that. I want to move away. I want to go away. I'm more in the, well, if you talk, you talk. If you want to talk, you want to talk. I think everybody's different on that aspect. I'm going to ask a question. A question I'd like you guys that are ham operators. What made you become a ham? What aspect or what particular thing, made you go to, I want to be a ham? What was it? What pushed you to being a ham? Because definitely it must be something. I was pushed in great part because of I do this and people were pressuring me all the time. Then again, I also probably, in somewhere was thinking, well, I also kind of wanted to be a ham in some way and be on the air also. But is there something, that particular thing that made you want to be a ham? And that convinced you, you know what, I want to have my license because of this, out of curiosity. Yeah, it could be an image, but it could be also log 2112. It could have been simply something sounded similar, but it was not necessarily cell call. There's a lot of things that can be very similar, honestly. So maybe you heard something else also. You never know. What else do we have? William Atkinson, Texan PL 660 is the best, most sensitive radio I have. Cool. It is a great radio. Ron, my old CB handle was Minuteman. Like that. 8281.5 upper sideman speech with whistling again. Fisherman? Yeah, possibly. Possibly. There's a lot of stuff in there. Carol, I listen to FT8, but I spend a lot of time doing keyboard digital on 80 and 40. Cool. Cool. Greg, I agree with you. Cool. Hey, Chastang, nice to have you here. Urban Exploration, Mexico. Hola. ¿Cómo está mi amigo desde Mexico? Hope you're well, my friend. Solitary radio listener. I wasn't going to do any radio this week. My wife and I are on vacation. I was going to take a break, but she fell asleep, and I slipped into my man cave to catch the show and tune around. I like that. Hey, you're not cheating. She's sleeping. Come on. You can do what you want while she's sleeping. Chastang History Guy just had a great show about ham, shortwave radio, and the Antarctic de-expedition. It was a good story. Yep, absolutely, David KJ4CMY. A lot of people are mic shy. Absolutely. Look, I'm camera shy and mic shy. It's obvious, don't you see? Well, I'm joking, but there's a lot more people than we think that have a hard time, that have really a hard time with talking to somebody else. NH Homestead, nice to have you here. Baseball and hockey made me become a ham. I used to listen to games on my alarm clock radio as a kid. Hearing games on the radio signals in far distances got me into the hobby. Cool. Keegan the Exter, planning in my license someday after learning from my dad, 29 JEF, about how it works. Go get it, man. You can even get it now. Take the time and go get that ticket. John Belcher, what made me a ham? AM crystal set, that one's with alligator clips. Urban Exploration Mexico, wanted to be a ham. Last of years I used CB radio. System engineer, build antennas, and I can fix my radios. Cool. Cool. Lou Brugg, I became a ham because of my passion for shortwave and long distance communications. Cool. Greg, when I tune around to rural shortwave, I would hear my mom and aunt talk on the cordless phone. Carol, W7 WXV. 1. To talk to faraway stations. 2. Get away from the foul language on CB. 3. Later on to develop my own radio skills and digital on voice. Cool. Don's Locks VK1DON. I've had CB radios and now retired. I am an ex-electrician and electronic security installer. Electronics and radio just made sense now that I don't work. Cool. Take care, Log 2112. Take care. Definitely, definitely a lot of similarities between a lot of us with electronics and all sorts of things when we talk about it, and becoming a ham. I mean, I'm definitely happy to be a ham today. When I made my contacts with Europe the other day, it's like, this is cool. This is cool, and it's also the amazement. I was truly amazed that an end-fed 50 some feet wire in the backyard, 100 watts, and I'm talking to Europe. It's like, wow. John Beckham, closest thing to being a ham for me was being CB radio operator. And you know what? It's not nothing to be ashamed of. CB is fun. I had a lot of fun with CB, and I'm not gonna poo-poo anyone, or I hate hams that I'm gonna be, well, you're a CB, or it's like you're an inferior species or something. No, you're not. You are a fan and a geek of radio. You are passionate about, you know, transmitting and trying to listen and hear stations from as far away as possible. I don't care if you're a CBer. For me, somebody that comes to me and says, I am a CBer and plan to be for the rest of my life, and I don't care about ham radio, I will simply say, that is cool. We are in the same league. You're a radio operator, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing, you're not an inferior, whatever grade. Oh, man. We got to stop doing also these classes of, well, you're a CBer, so you're down there, and you're a shortwave listener with no ham license, you're down there. Honestly, there are people that left this channel following me because after months and months and months of, you still don't have your ham license, people coming back to me and saying, well, I thought you'd be a serious guy and that would go get your ham license. And, it's like, you know what? I have more knowledge about radio than probably more than half of the ham licensed guys out there. When I listen to the ham bands or listen to the 2 meter band or whatever, okay, ignorant radio operators, okay? And that was way before my ham license. So if somebody tells me or comes to me and says, well, you don't have your ham license, you're still just a shortwave guy. Well, your problem where ham radio operators are not getting new hams. Instead of poo-pooing somebody that just listens, maybe you should understand that maybe I got more knowledge than you. Stop thinking you're superior because you went to get the license. We are all in this together. We are all in this radio geeks. You're a CBer, you're a shortwave listener, you're a scanner buff, you're a ham operator. All in the same league. All radio geeks. That's all. We are all fans of radio. We all have different aspects of radio that we cherish and have fun. And that's it. But do not poo poo anybody that does not have a license or does not, that doesn't agree with you with the fact that, you should have a ham license or you're a nobody. That's all. That said, do go get your ham license. It's fun. Okay, Jeff King. Jacksonville, Florida. Nice to have you here. Chas Tank, I wanted to do CW, but I am ham figisted with the key. Okay. Hey, take your time. Take your time. You know what? Take your time. You know, some people actually make ham contacts using computers. They just hook up their software and, type what they want to a speed, CW speed, and just do it with a computer. Martin, PE9TIG. Nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Started CB in 1978. But bought HF bug ever since. Cool. The unlocked CB is still an invaluable tool. Yes, absolutely. Yes, School AM radio. Actually, I think I had 10 emails with a service manual that time. All one next to each other. It's like, oh wow, everybody's sending me the service manual. But I'm gonna actually play a little bit more with it, but I'm gonna send it to my friend Fastlow that was in the chat room earlier. He's gonna go and check that out and play with it, see what he can do, make it a little better. Ron, think of it. Before the internet, with ham, you could make friends around the world. The first net. Yep. Darren Pierce. Actually, that was one of the interesting things of not just ham, but I remember the mailbag shows focusing on people wanting to have. Remember mailbag shows back in the 70s and 80s? They had a lot of them had a pen pal side to it. This is where you can send a letter to, whoever around the world. He wants to have some pen pals from all over the world. That was also a thing. And they were having their mailbag shows and their pen pal guys. They would give out the postal address of people. I always wondered. I never tried that because it wasn't my thing, but I always wondered if there's a lot of people. Anybody in the chat room ever try to be a pen pal over shortwave mailbag shows back in the days and talk with others? I'd be interested. I always wondered if they had responses of people like, "Oh, hi, I'm from Canada, and I heard your pen pal request over Radio Bulgaria or something." I wonder. Man Max 2069, a big head syndrome because they have a license. Yep, a lot of them. Unfortunately, a lot of them do. David KJ4CMY. Got into amateur radio because shortwave stations were disappearing. Needed my radio fix. Well, that's one way to compensate. One thing that came to mind this week, David, when I did my ham contacts with Bulgaria and Serbia and all of that and Portugal, it made me realize that ham radio was giving me contacts with countries on shortwave that were gone, and it was kind of cool. No problem to name us if you don't have a license, and anybody that doesn't have a license, you don't have to. Just have fun with radio. Chastang, never just like you, have met hams with limited knowledge, but have an air of being superior for having the ticket. Yep, absolutely. David, KJ4CMY, says that amateur radio is good for emergencies, but I'm back into shortwave, medium wave, anything radio. That's also something that we have to focus. When somebody talks about ham radio in any outlet that is major news outlets, we have to, people are in the impression we're, a gang of CB guys that just talk to each other and they're geeks with radio and it's not useful. And it's sad that no one is pushing ahead the fact that in emergencies, we are invaluable. We are there and transmitting and helping out when everything else will fail. ham radio operators will be there to help. Unfortunately, the general population has absolutely no knowledge of that. And they think of us as general CB radio guys that, oh, they're playing with their toys. Yeah, but wait until I save your life one day. You're going to see that it's not just a toy. That is more than that. Unfortunately, not enough push to the media, the general media, about how this is an amazing, important hobby and communications way in terms of emergency situations. Yes, Robert Cross, I'll be here at 20 hours Universal Time on Saturday. So, absolutely. Carol, W7, WXV, Agrejo, we are all radio geeks, no matter. I am no better than the shortwave or scandal listener. We're all radio geeks, absolutely. We're all having fun with radio. And, like I said, some listeners only have more knowledge than hams. It's, we got to be careful with the perspective and thinking that because you've got the license, you're better than anybody else. Barry, yeah, I have a friend who has a GMRS repeater and also a ham. I hear it from him to get my ham license, just like the preacher trying to bring the new believers. Man. Andrea the X-ray, consider myself a geek, but not a super geek who uses jargon and technical explanations left, right, and center. Yogi says, having the license to do something us a blessing, and they should not feel superior about it. Yep. John Beckham, talking skip was always fun for me as I would always get signals from Nova Scotia and South America in Northeast Florida. Cool. Barry, not against being a ham, but how much more do I really need? This is something personal. This is where you will know what you want or not in the hobby. There will be shortwave listeners or CBers that will never want to have a ham license and not see the reason why. And it's okay. Like there are some that are new to the hobby and after 6 months are like, I want to have my ham license. I think it's something that you want or not. I always kind of wanted it. My sister, like for some of my sister that died in 2011 was a ham when I was a teenager. And it was kind of cool. And there was that time when, yeah, having my ham ticket would have been nice. I thought about it. And then it faded out. I was a listener and I was happy being a listener. And didn't feel the call to being a ham operator, But doing this, there's the pressure of people telling you, yeah, you got to be a ham operator and blah, blah, blah. And, for some reason, some people find that the channel has more professionalism, knowing that it's a ham that also is on the channel and it shouldn't be. And I actually resisted for a long time because honestly, I kind of wanted it, but it was not a priority and I had other things to attend to. And I had all of you guys and a lot of stuff going on. And personally, I didn't care if somebody came over and said, well, you're not a ham. You're like, I don't see why we should listen to you. And for me, it was like, don't listen. I don't care. I'm not going to be pressured into it. It's where I got my license is a coincidence. And the coincidence came with the fact that I got an email from, I don't remember who, but somebody sent me an email and said, oh, that guy is going to start his virtual ham course. And maybe you want to attend. And I was actually sitting down, and one night I was like, I didn't click yes immediately or anything. I just thought about it. And one night, I had a couple of weeks to register. And one night I thought, okay, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Okay, let's take the time to do it and let's go for it. I registered for the course, and I did a course every time. There was twice a week. Listen to the stuff and follow the course, and I found it interesting because the course, you don't have to follow it. Honestly, I possibly could have had my license without even doing the course and be a ham. But I thought doing the course is going to be interesting because it's an experience. I will learn stuff. I knew I would learn stuff. I did learn stuff, you know, and what happened is I, I followed it and I saw all the other people. It was also an extreme, interesting experience because we're in 2022. We talked about it. We had a debate about what I think is useless in a ham course and a ham license or not, depending on the license level. And, now we don't all agree, and we're not going to change ham licensing tomorrow morning. But still, I saw the struggling people, those that have a hard time with the course. I saw the people that were more knowledgeable. I was part of the more knowledgeable guys that was able to bring my 2 cents of knowledge within certain aspects of the course at the same time, also, which was kind of cool. Showing that I'm not a smartass, but where I know that you don't know how to actually explain a specific thing. Maybe I can actually add my 2 cents on how to explain it. Might be simpler for your audience or the people in your class, and so it's kind of nice. And then it was getting, and the fact that it was virtual, did it at home. The fact that it was also virtual for the exam greatly helped. One of the biggest, and if you know what, if I hope online licensing continues, one of the biggest problems of ham licensing in many areas is the lack of examiners that are available where you live, and you have to go somewhere for it. And basically, that was a problem for a long time because Montreal is a big city, but for some reason, everybody that does licensing and examining, we're all out of town. And you're like, what? So you don't want to have a big city guy, and license or something? So the virtual side brought this side. If you have a car, it doesn't matter, but I don't have a car. So, for me going outside of town, I'm going to rent a car to get my hand license. Maybe not. Um, but the thing is, the online stuff was what I wanted, and I went through it. And went through it, did the exam and everything, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be licensed. So it's kind of cool. But I did not necessarily do it totally out of pressure of people, kind of just pressuring me as well. You gotta blah 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 blah. No, please, okay. I'm not going to be pressured into something, guys. Okay. James Farley sold my Panasonic that you just got back. Too much drifting. A lot of drifting, that's for sure. David says he was aware of amateur radio since I was a kid, but like you, didn't feel like the call until 2008. So, yeah. I would say, what you're saying there is that you wish you did it earlier. Now that I have my ham license, maybe I wished I would have been a ham operator from a long time ago, even my teenage years. Maybe. But at the same time, yeah, okay. It's okay. Take care, Zen Pharaoh 73. John Beckham. Like obtaining a college diploma is getting your ham license because it shows that you can discipline yourself in studying materials for your license, followed by passing the test. Yeah, for sure, for sure. There's knowledge. You're gonna be sitting down, listening, doing stuff, and pass the test. And there's there's a serious side to it for sure. Mad Max 2069 have been seen many hams talk down to newer hams because they didn't need to learn Morse code to get a license. Yep, I've seen that a lot. No, sorry. There's no more Morse code. There's no more Morse code. That's it. Okay. If you want to learn CW, that's up to you. But don't poo-poo someone that doesn't that because they didn't have to pass that CW test. Robert Spence looking for suggestions on good shortwave with sideband in UK retailers. Trying to charge £95 for a Texan PL330. Texan PL330 is a great radio. You can have it, I don't know, in Europe and in the UK, I know that a lot of the radios are more expensive than here. So, Carol, W7WXV. Did the person who taught the ham course teach you ham radio or just teach you to pass the test? No, it's actually, here's the thing. The ham radio course is very, very oriented into having you pass. So although there is knowledge about electronics and stuff, there is a way that it's done that it pushes you towards, this is the theory, but remember that little thing here. That's what you're going to be asked on the test. So, there's part of it that's like, yeah, there's something to learn, but just remember this part about, don't remember all of that. Remember this. This is where you're going to be tested on. So definitely there's part of it that is knowledge, but part of it of, yeah, just remember this is the little part you're going to need to know for the test to kind of help you pin down. Focus on that. You don't need all of that. You can focus just on that. So it's part of all of, kind of half and half that. Solitary radio listener, why did your sister become a ham? Was it a challenge, something she wanted to do, or she did no other ham? So my sister became a ham because she met her boyfriend back then, which became her husband. And he was a ham operator. And I don't know I didn't see a lot of my sister back then. We would see each other from time to time. All I know from that period is one day she's not a ham, one day she's a ham. So of course her boyfriend probably had something to do with it. And back then you needed Morse code. So she had to pass something like 5 or 10 words per minute Morse code. So she became a ham. She was active when she got the license. She was active for a few years, really, really active. Then she moved, and when she moved, she never set up the radio back. So when she moved, she had to set up an antenna, should have set up the radio, and it never happened. And I remember back in the 90s, one day we were talking. And back then, you had to renew your license every 3 years or something. And she looked at me. She says, "Well, my license is expired, and I have only about 6 months left to pay my dues, or I'm going to lose my license." And I remember I looked at her. I said, "You worked hard to get it. Why don't you just pay the dues to at least keep it?" And she said, "Yeah, you're right. But she never did. So it did expire at some point in around that range. She had other things to think about, and My sister's life was a little complicated for a while. So all of that together is like, yeah, you know what? It's not a priority. So she lost her call letters at some point, but she was very active. The first few years, she was extremely active on the bands. And I remember one day calling her up because I was with my DX 302 and I was on the bottom of the 20-meter band, and I was trying to learn a little bit of Morse code. And because I heard her call over and over again, it was like an automatic thing in my brain. I could recognize her call within all the CW stuff. And I'm tuning slowly, and it's, I don't know, Sunday morning. And it's like, oh, that's my sister. I'm hearing my sister. And I'm calling her up. It's like, you're calling CQ. It was just funny, you know. I know she wanted me to have my own license. She had talked to me about it. She actually had told me, because I remember she showed me a radio, an old transceiver. And I remember we're maybe 1985. She says, get your ham license. I've got this antenna and this radio. It's yours. But you have to get your ham license. So I remember thinking about it very seriously. It's like, wow, I got a radio, free radio, a free transceiver and antenna if I do get um, my ham license. So, you know, kind of cool. Well, I am today, and she's not there anymore. And last week when I did my contacts, I posted in my Facebook group, I wish my sister would be here to see her little brother do ham contacts. She'd be proud of her little brother. And a couple of guys posted in the comment, oh, she sees you, she knows. And but I remember I stopped for a while, and it's like, well, I'd love my sister to be here just to see her little brother doing some ham contacts. What else is there? What else is there? Carol, Jill, would you have a larger stack of QSL cards if he had his ham license? Oh, that definitely. I would have a lot more QSLs, definitely. Matt, Radio New Zealand, 15720 coming in Denver. Don Lux, I did my training and test in person, but happy to do the upgrade test online on my own pace. I wish I started earlier though. David, KJ4CMY, I have heard that CW has become more popular now that it's not required. There's a lot of activity on CW. There's more activity in CW than SSB, actually. What else do we have? Yogi. In Japan, a lot of young people become hams because of the anime series Girls on Panzer. Cute girls working with radios inside tanks. Oh, wow. Okay. Robert Spence, another question. My current shortwave radio is a Reticus, but I'm getting nothing on shortwave, FM, and medium wave. I don't know what model you have, but a lot of Reticus radios are not very, very good, first of all. And if you do have one that is decent, there's a lot of noise in the environments. So often the problem is the noise more than anything else. William, might you be doing to Dayton Ham Vision? You know what? I'd love to do all of these things. I have a big problem right now, and it's the fact that I'm taking care of a guy that needs to have constant checks, and I just can't. I can't leave. I can't leave more than a day. It's impossible for me because I am taking care of somebody that really needs help. So someday I wish I will be doing something like that. I'd love to go to Dayton Ham Vision and do a lot of stuff like that. But for now, it's kind of complicated for me. What else do we have? There should be some kind of remedial place for folks who are not great at Morse. John Macam, I was intrigued with various AM radio antennas out there, such as the 3 and 5 element beam antennas and dipoles and the whole 9 yards to speak. There's a lot of stuff, and antennas by themselves are a whole new thing. I can tell you that. It's a whole world. So, Keegan the Extern, my dad, W9JEF, has been licensed since 1954. Pretty cool. So, William, understand register nurse. Yep. It's a tough one, I can tell you. It's not always easy to do so. Barry, okay, filling the extras while dropping off. Take care, my friends. 73s. Matt, I'm going to keep this on the background, but I'm going to step back. Take care, my friend. Always nice to have you on board, Matt. MDK2. So I'm going to say also goodbye for tonight. We have been on for what? 3 hours and 15 minutes. Not bad. It's 11:15 p.m. here. That's a pretty good run for a Wednesday evening. Hope you enjoyed the show. And you know what? We're going to be back Saturday, 20 hours Universal Time with some more radio fun. And do what you can do to keep the hobby alive. Okay, guys? It's super important. Write to your favorite stations, help anyone you see needs help. But you are responsible for the hobby being a fun part of it and being something extraordinary. Take care, my friends. Stay safe. Love you all. And see you Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. 20 hours Universal Time. Right here. Okay, bye. Take care, my friends.